Hey y'all, you want to do a short weekly web series reviewing each episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yes.
Sure.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to some bonus content from LexiCon. These are going to be, as I say, short reviews of each episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier as they go up. Something exclusive here to the YouTube channel, although I think I might put them all together at the end and release them as a full episode of the pod once we have the complete view of the series. And let's get right into it. Initial thoughts on the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, well, thanks for coming to the review. I expected a little more than that.
Well, just my plain thoughts would be pretty good. I didn't know how much detail you wanted.
I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was enough to hook me if I wasn't already in. You know? I was along for the ride because it's another Marvel property and I like the characters and I want to see what we're doing in Phase 4.
But if you're not...
Is it Phase 4 or Phase 5?
I don't know.
I think we're starting Phase 4.
Yeah.
But the new phase, I want to, keep up. So I was into it from the start. It did nothing to turn me away since I'm already into it, but it did nothing to bring me in if I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
It was a slow start. That's sort of the code word for this episode.
That's
code
exactly
phrase.
how I feel. Like it's probably gonna get better, but right now it's kind of slow.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either.
No.
It'll just.
It's just one episode at a time.
We just have to wait and see how it goes. WandaVision teased out the mystery a little bit, but we got some. We knew something was going on.
Yeah.
And we got a little tease of it at the end of the first episode, and then we got a little more with the second episode, which both went up at the same time. So I felt like WandaVision got running faster, and of course, it was into its gimmick right away, and it was off and running. So this show's definitely teasing it out much more slowly.
Yeah.
And not quite as action-oriented as I thought it was going to be, although, in retrospect, there was a good bit of action in the first episode. So probably as much action as I expected, or close to it, but just the way it took place was sort of unexpected. Spoilers, of course.
Yes.
And we'll put that in the description as well. But Sam and Bucky aren't even together right now. They're completely separated and don't seem to have any contact.
Yeah.
And this episode definitely, and perhaps the whole series, seems to have a case of what a lot of Hollywood properties seem to have in the last few years, where they're resetting things and pulling things back. At the end of Endgame, we had Sam getting the shield, and it looked like he and Bucky were going to go on to the next chapter of whatever. We didn't necessarily know they were going to be a team or anything until we got the previews for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but still, it looked like they were in one place, and now it's like we're taking a step back. Like, Sam doesn't want the shield, and Bucky's still dealing with his demons that we thought he'd already worked out in Wakanda. And so it seems like they're pulling them back. I just hope this isn't a case like WandaVision was, where we go through a whole series just to get characters to where we already expected them to be, or maybe just slightly further.
Yeah.
Like I hope this isn't 5.5 hours just to get Sam to officially be the new Captain America. And it's like, I thought we already had that.
Yeah,
and 5.5 hours to finally get Bucky over some of the traumas of his past. I thought we already had that. I thought he worked that out in Wakanda.
Yeah.
I do like the way they referenced that, where he was like, I had some peace in Wakanda, but then it was right back into another war. And look, I want to say, dude, I'm fine with characters having setbacks.
Yeah.
I get that's part of life, but I get tired of like, hey, we think these characters have gotten to one place, and no, they're not really there yet. And, then we have to get back there. Sort of like when you get Star Wars The Force Awakens, and after 20 years we think these characters have established something and really built something, and not really, they're all fucked up again. It's like, really?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of a letdown, but we don't know where it's going to go. I know the trailer sort of teased Sam not taking up the mantle yet, and maybe that's going to be the case, and maybe it's going to take the whole series, but maybe a couple episodes in, he's pretty much taking up the shield and working his way into it. He, okay, I'm Captain Falcon now, but I have
Falcon.
I gotta learn exactly what that means and how I fit in now. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Reasonable.
I do say I hated Bucky's therapy session. I hope it doesn't become a big part of every episode. It just seems so cliched at this point. Like, maybe it was sort of original back when the Sopranos did it and Tony was going to therapy, but it just seems like a big cliche in entertainment now to have the character in therapy, and they kind of have a give and take sort of argumentative relationship with the therapist, and it's just, I don't need to see it again. And I didn't appreciate the way they used the therapist to give all this backstory and exposition on Bucky. I feel like if you're going to do that, either just give me a real narrator to do it, let the character themselves tell you, or show it through flashback and new action. I don't need to be told that by yet another character. It just felt cliched to me.
Yeah.
So hopefully that won't be a big element of the series. I don't mean to be hogging the mic. Anybody got anything else?
Good. I don't have a whole lot.
We got to meet Sam's family, his sister, and his nephews, right?
Yeah.
She had
Yeah.
2 boys.
Yeah.
You got to see some of their family business, the Sam Wilson Bubba Gump Fishing Company. I'm sorry, I grew up with Forrest Gump. I can't help but think back to that, and
I never seen Forrest Gump.
Alex is going to do some art for every one of these episodes, and I try to talk her into doing Bucky as Forrest and Sam as Bubba, but I don't think she had time for this episode. We may get that still, but that's another thing too. This at least this episode seems to make it seem like this series is going to focus on more personal dramas than action. Obviously, we're going to get action. There's this terrorist cell they're going to be dealing with, and I'm sure it's going to tie into the larger Marvel universe. I know Zemo's supposed to be back during it, so we'll see how that all goes.
But it's going to be a little heavy
It seems
on
like
the
it might be a little more
personal
soap opera-ish,
Yeah.
like nighttime soap opera-ish, which could be good, could be bad. It's all about how they deal with it.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be more of a mix between the two, if anything. I think it's going to still be fairly action-heavy.
Probably.
And this episode itself kicked off with an action sequence. I mean, we got a brief moment with Sam getting ready for what looked like a funeral, and flashing back to his last words with Cap, almost making you think we're going to see Cap's funeral.
Yeah.
Which we didn't. We don't know exactly what's become of old Cap. He could still be lurking in the background somewhere.
Probably is.
And then we go straight into an action scene, which we saw in some of the trailers, but they made it look like it was Sam and Bucky in that scene, and this is really just a Sam operation, him working with the Air Force. And it was pretty good. Actually, it looked like for a while Sam was going to fail, but then he pulled it out in the end, and it establishes his contact in the military, Torres, who at one point I thought was actually going to be revealed to be a traitor. Mm-hmm. He still could be, but at this point he was still just sort of working to infiltrate the baddies. And it looks like we're going to get more super soldiers, because the leader of the terrorist cell that he was dealing with, kicked him halfway across the street. And, well, he kicked somebody across. I think he just slammed Torres down and stomped him out. But definitely super soldier type
Definitely.
effects. And then we saw a flashback to Bucky's days as the Winter Soldier, which at first I thought was maybe a current Bucky. He had long hair, which threw me off a little bit, but I thought, well, he could still cut his hair before he gets in the series. And I thought maybe the people who are attacking are the bad guys, and he's still working to take them out. And even when he said "Hail Hydra," I'm still thinking maybe he was just saying it mockingly, like that guy was Hydra.
Yeah.
And then he's walking up to that businessman who's shaking, trying to get into his room. And at first I thought maybe he was going to let him in the room, but then it made it look like he killed him.
Yeah, and that's kind of when I was like, oh, that's not current time.
Yeah, and then Bucky wakes up in Nightmare, and et cetera, et cetera. And that ties into another element of the show where Bucky's got a relationship with the father of this guy.
Uh-huh.
And at first I thought maybe it was a friend of Bucky's from back in, his old days. Because he's an old man like Cap, too. But he didn't go back in time and relive his life and age, so he looks my age, but he's 106.
Yep.
Which they made, they played off his age when he's on a date with a young woman. She's like, how old are you? And he's like 106, and she laughs, and yeah, it's funny right now, I'm serious. They didn't say that to her. But yeah, he's got a relationship with the father of this guy that he killed in his Winter Soldier days. And we see, when he's with the Shrink, we see a flashback of him, quote, making his amends, but he's actually, taking care of some evil people that he put into place, for lack of a better expression.
Uh-huh.
So we got bits and pieces here and there. It was an interesting start.
Yeah,
it was a little different
lot to go off of. Yeah,
a little different than WandaVision too, because we got 2 episodes of WandaVision right up front. We only got 1 of this.
I was kind of hoping we'd get the first 2 of this.
Yeah,
I feel like in episode 2 is going to get the shield.
It might have played, but I hope he gets the shield more. I hope it's, like I say, I don't want this to be 5.5 hours just to get to Captain Falcon.
I was going to say, since they didn't.
It was something they could have established with just a flashback or an end credit scene in another movie, because I thought we were pretty much there at the end of Endgame. But anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say, since they didn't give us episode 2 on the first night like they did with WandaVision, there better be something really good happening.
I was going to say, maybe it really opens things up. Maybe to bust into that shit.
Like, that could be why they waited. They were like, no, we kind of went big in episode 2. We can't give them that the first night.
Episode 2, Bucky gets stuck in traffic.
Episode 2, Sam and Bucky go to driving school together.
They're just trying. They're trying to get together or something. Just both stuck in traffic.
Alright, well, yeah, like I say...
Bucky gets stuck in traffic. Falcon just says screw it, flies to him, and now they're both stuck in traffic together, and that's the whole episode. Just sitting in the car.
Them sitting in the car talking.
Yep.
I lost that.
To be fair, would too.
Alright, well, I'm going to watch it, whatever it is. Like I say, this first one definitely didn't turn me off the series. I just don't think it did a lot to reel anybody in who's not already along for the ride, but... I mean, how much more of an audience are they going to find anyway? They're pretty much playing to their audience, which is massive as it is. So.
True.
slight thumbs up for the first episode. Kind of a wait and see approach. So hopefully we'll get some more in episode 2.
I agree.
Yeah.
Falcon and Soldier. Falcon and Soldier.
And Soldier.
Just Soldier.
I keep calling him Captain Falcon too.
That's why he is in the summer. He's a Falcon and Soldier.
Captain Falcon and Soldier. That's like.
Captain Falcon and a soldier for all seasons. Alright, so we got 2 episodes in the books. We're starting to see a little more of what the series is going to be about. And I do want to say right off the bat that racism certainly seems to be one of the threads that's going to be interwoven through this series. I mean, we've seen it with Sam and his sister's troubles with the bank in last episode. We saw it with Sam's issue with the cops in this episode.
Yes.
We see it in that they're going to introduce Isaiah, who was Black Captain America, and whose legacy was tarnished and somewhat erased. Even somewhat in how Sam was subtly coerced to give up the shield, and only to see it handed over to a white Captain America. And even in Sam's line from the first episode when he told Torres, every time it gets better for one group, it gets worse for another one. And I'm fine with that if that's the direction they want to go in. I'm not criticizing them per se. To me, it all comes down to how well or not they do it.
If they do it well, great. If they don't,
But I have seen some criticism that they're being too subtle with it, and that they're not really naming the racism. I saw a comparison made to the Watchmen TV series that apparently did that much better, at least in some people's eyes. And like I said, I'm willing to wait and see where it goes, but I understand why some people aren't. And so Marvel may be alienating a certain section of the audience that they're trying to court with this if they don't do it.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. I just wanted to put that out there. As far as episode 2 goes, man, episode 1 I thought took things way too slowly. And I thought episode 2 moved too fast.
A little bit.
Especially in that after this big instance of Bucky and Sam not being together at all in episode 1, suddenly they're just together in episode 2.
I was sitting here like, when and why did y'all get together and how?
Yeah, there was no call put in, there was no big meeting. I mean, there was a throwaway line from Sam, some reunion, but I mean, he was just there. There was literally nothing. It felt very abrupt.
Where did you come from?
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe the shooting of the series, the creation of the series was somewhat protracted because of COVID. So maybe something got cut out or lost in translation a little bit. But if not, that just seemed like a rare misstep for Marvel.
I agree.
I mean, I'm glad to have them together, but I feel like if you're going to take the time to have them separate, you need to do something to bring them together instead of just, oh, well, we're together. And
exactly.
It's weird, too, because we'll get into it. They have some dealings with bootleg Cap.
Yeah.
But Sam points out, you guys have all these rules and regulations. We're free agents. I mean, under what authority are they acting exactly? Because I thought with the Sokovia Accords, they had to sort of fall in line to the government.
I thought that they still technically
or risk
had
being outlaws. And I understand...
The Sokovia Accords still in action.
Yeah. Well, they're referenced in WandaVision.
Yeah.
There's bits of them in credits of the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but they're outright referenced in WandaVision.
Yeah.
Because they reference Hayward trying to turn Vision into a weapon, being in defiance of not only the Vision's living will, but also the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah. With, wow, I just completely lost that train of thought.
Well, I was just saying, too, that I realized that Bucky has been pardoned, and I guess Sam was, too. Because, I mean, originally, after Civil War, he was an outlaw for a while, but I guess maybe after the... What are they calling it? The Battle of Earth?
I have no idea.
The big battle at the end of Endgame. I can certainly understand why they would be looked at more favorably, but I still thought there were some sort of regulations they had to follow. It's something that, especially if they're going to have Sam point out that, bootleg Cap and his sidekick, y'all have to work under regulations. We're free agents and can do whatever we choose. Okay, well, why? Since you took the time to establish the Sokovia Accords and Civil War and saying, that superheroes have to follow these guidelines, well, why do these suddenly not have to?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing, because I think that there'd be some sort of stuff that they have to follow.
Well, like I said, they took the time to specifically...
be the same for both of them.
They specifically took the time to have Sam say, well, we don't have to follow the same regulations as you, but...
Why?
They're not establishing why or how. So that's another case where they're not going as far with something as they should. So hopefully that won't continue to be the case. And not that I want them to spend a whole lot of time on this, but just make it make sense,
Yeah.
Or don't address it at all.
Why is the big question of episode 2.
I'm just saying, don't take the time to address it all if you're not going to go all the way with it.
Yeah.
I did like the way this episode kicked off with the little deeper look into Walker, the new Captain America.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was kind of nice. It sort of made him look. It humanized him a little more.
Yeah.
It sort of gave us a look into him that maybe he's more of a pawn in this scheme than actually an accomplice. At least for now. We'll see how the character goes. And toward the end of the episode, he seemed a little less likable, I guess. I'm not saying that the opening made him likable, but it did give us a little more depth to his character,
Yeah.
So I did like that, and I like the way...
I'd still like to see him die.
Damn.
I'm sorry, I don't like him. Absolutely nothing has made me like him.
The episode, I was like, man, maybe he's not such a bad
See, I didn't think he was so... I thought they did a good job of making him look like he's doing his best,
not that bad of a guy.
But then by the end,
still don't like him,
But then by the end of the episode, when he told Sam and Bucky if they wouldn't work with him to stay the hell out of his way, then I think we may see that where he's actually not a bad guy, but circumstances and the fact that the real superheroes, in quotes, still end up saving the day, maybe he'll gradually turn to be a bad guy.
Possibly.
I think that's kind of what we're looking at.
Either I'm
But we'll
still
see how it
sitting here
goes.
like, I don't like you.
I do want to know, how is he throwing that shield so hard if he's not a super soldier?
He's strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I get they wanted to say, he tested off the charts and all that stuff, but he's not a super soldier.
Facts.
And I mean, I know we've seen some previews of Sam throwing the shield. But we don't know how much, we got to kind of take that with a grain of salt until we actually see it the way it plays out in the show. Because trailers can be cut to emphasize different things. So I'm just wondering how he's able to do that. And I mean, at the end of the day, the super soldiers did win against him. I mean, even Bucky he would have taken, I'm sure he would have taken one-on-one easily enough, but against several of them, he was outmatched.
Very much.
But then at first when it was like, Bootleg Cap's going to save the day, it's like, no, that doesn't make sense.
No, not at all.
Because what we're dealing with is Sam and, Bucky. Sam and Bucky. Yeah, that's right. Yep. I almost said Sam and Falcon, and then I corrected it, and then I questioned myself correcting it.
Yeah, no, it's Sam and Bucky.
But it's the scene from the trailers you saw where they're fighting on top of the moving trucks, and they're getting their butts kicked, and Bootleg Cap comes in to save the day, but then eventually he gets thrashed. I did like the move where his sidekick, and I apologize, I can't remember the character's name.
Me neither.
What was his little superhero name? Power Star or something like that?
Or his Battlestar.
Battlestar, there you go. He got knocked off the truck, and Bootleg Cap threw his shield underneath him to catch him, and I thought that was a pretty cool move.
Yeah. Just saying, they seemed fairly uninjured for getting punched and launched 15 feet.
That's it.
Well, he might have a bit of armor on. Wait, you're talking about Cap, right? Bootleg Cap? Yeah, Walker. I mean, he might have a bit of body armor on his in his gear too. And he did hit the car windshield to break his fall a little bit. Like, I mean, that if you fall on something that will break with the impact, it does help cushion you a little bit. I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt and he wouldn't have some injuries, but I'm not necessarily saying it's enough to just take him out of commission completely. It wasn't 50 feet.
15.
Maybe. Going back to the beginning of the show, I did like the way they over the Marvel credits, which we didn't get the Marvel title card in the first episode, I don't think, did we?
I don't know.
I was thinking we didn't, but maybe we did, but we got it back on this one, but we had that sort of drumline music playing over it. I like that, it's from the scene you've seen where they have the dancers in the big pomp and circumstance for Cap at the football game.
Yeah.
I hate calling him Cap. Okay?
Same.
Bootleg Cap.
Yeah.
Walker.
It's not Cap.
But I like the way
U.S. agent.
They played that music over the opening of the show. I enjoyed that, and I liked the incredulous look on Bucky's face as he watched the interview with Walker on TV. Just that blank look, like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But even from then, like, you could have showed him picking up, like, texting Falcon or calling him up, like, "We got to get together." Just next thing you know, he's just there. He just appears there.
Just out of thin air, just teleports. Like, stop, Sam.
Look, he's a called Goku to turn instant transmission him there.
I like to. There's a couple references first from Sam and then from Walker about the big three: androids, aliens, and wizards. And I'm thinking we had 2 out of those 3 in our short film action flick. We had aliens, apes, and wizards.
Facts.
And I like Bucky's reference to reading The Hobbit back when it first came out. That was really cool.
I like that.
We finally got the scene too with Falcon and Bucky in the plane, and Falcon jumps out and Bucky's complaining about him not having a plane, which I had thought actually was just a mashup for the credits. For the trailer, I thought the scene that started the first episode where Falcon's up in the plane on the mission, I thought that was actually cut together with that and another scene, but apparently it was a full scene and we got it this week.
Yeah.
And then Bucky's jumped out.
Yeah, I love that. Just like that's fine. I don't need a parachute. That's fine. And then just crashes through the trees.
He's falling from high.
And it's like, well.
We also got a call back to Bucky being the White Wolf.
Yeah.
Which, is... In the comics, I don't think it's Bucky who's the White Wolf, but he's T'Challa's adopted brother, and when Bucky went to Wakanda and some of the kids referred to him as White Wolf, so it's nice to see them bringing that back again.
Yeah. That's nice.
Going back to the truck fight scene, though, it starts out with Bucky running up to it's like a caravan of 2 semi-trucks, and he runs up to the second one and opens the door and climbs in. Did the people driving the truck behind him not see anything and, radio ahead, hey, somebody just climbed in your truck, or pull out a gun and start to shoot or something? They're just moving along, oh, people just climb on our trucks all the time. No big deal.
Everybody just seemed to ignore it, and I was just sitting there that. I'm not sure that's how that works.
They're like, yeah, it's fine. He's gonna get punched and get launched 15 feet. Now, he could take a 15 feet launch punch.
Buck?
Yes.
I would hope.
Don't call him that. You don't know him well enough.
You called him that.
Did I?
Yes, that's a Buck.
I have nothing to say here.
Also, on the end of that scene, after they've kind of gotten thrashed by the villains and they've moved on, Bootleg Cap and his sidekick are right in the back of an army jeep, and they're trying to get Sam and Bucky to get in the car with them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a neat scene where at first they're just ignoring him. I like some of the interplay there, and then when they finally do get in the truck with them, and I think at this point Bucky's already gotten out, and Walker's trying to talk to Sam. And he's like, I'm not trying to replace Cap, and made it feel like, I'm not trying to replace your dad, buddy, like a stepdad or something. That's sort of what it felt like to me.
Facts.
I thought that was kind of funny. And of course we got our first glimpse on Isaiah Bradley, Black Captain America.
Yeah.
And they touched on his legacy a little bit, and the erasure of his legacy and what he went through. And Bucky revealed that he knew about him because they were in opposition with Bucky working for Hydra, but the Cap never knew about him. And then Bucky didn't want to tell anybody about him because he figured Isaiah had been through enough. I assume we're going to see more of him as the series goes on. I doubt this is the last of him.
I think we all do.
Because, if nothing else, we're going to want to get filled in on the story more, so...
Yeah.
So that's something else. A lot more wait and see, pretty much.
Pretty much.
We didn't get any more Torres in this episode. We got a reference to Sharon Carter, but we didn't see her yet.
I hate Sharon Carter.
You hate Sharon Carter?
I've been watching too many point of views. They will really make you hate her. And
well, you shouldn't let yourself be influenced by other people so easily.
True.
And of course, the end of this episode set them up to go see Baron Zemo, who we actually saw at the very end with that operatic theme playing. I didn't like the therapy in this. Again, I told you how I felt about therapy in movies and TV shows. I think it's cliched at this point. This therapy session, as it were, was, I guess, better than the one we had last week, but I still didn't enjoy it, and I didn't like the way it ended up with Sam being like, look, we're going to work together now for the greater good, and then we can just get out of each other's lives. I thought Bucky and Sam were past that sort of dynamic.
I think hope that
it feels like there's a lot of backpedaling in this series so far. We got to reset all this stuff, and I I don't like it. Let's keep moving forward. Let's find some other sort of conflict or reasons for it. But
I personally feel like they've got that relationship at the moment, but they're kind of still back and forth. Like some days are good, some days are bad, but they're getting there. They're getting closer to all good. With the whole therapy thing, I didn't in general care for it, but I did really like the interactions between Sam and Bucky for the most part. And the staring contest and whatnot.
Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan do have a really good chemistry with each other. So that's why I'm hoping to see more from them than we've gotten so far. But
same.
Again, more wait and see. I don't think I like the second episode any better than the first episode. I don't know that I liked it any less either. I'm still not overwhelmed or blown away by the series. I'm still kind of waiting for it to really kick into high gear. We did get confirmation of that there's more super soldiers, and the power broker was mentioned, and apparently the power broker's in opposition to the super soldiers, so we're really not sure the dynamics of who the good guys and bad guys really are.
Yeah.
So a lot more wait and see. I think they could have easily put up the first 2 episodes of this like they did with WandaVision.
They could have.
And not spoiled anything, so I'm a little surprised they didn't. But kind of another week of wait and see, just sort of keeping it right there in the middle,
Yeah, I agree. I think I like this episode a little bit more than the first, but it's still not much,
Dill, what about you?
I liked it.
Did you like it better than the first episode? Or?
Yes.
I feel like I said, we're just sort of right in the middle, and I'm waiting to either really love it or really hate it.
Yeah. All
right, well, I guess that was our take on Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2. So So, episode 3, thoughts? Should I start?
Yes,
It's
yes,
pretty
you
good.
should.
Well, one thing I want to start with is sort of an overview of the series so far. I spoke a little bit last week about how I had heard some people are feeling alienated from the series because they're showing the instances of racism but not really naming it.
Yeah.
And of course, if they're more overt with it, I'm sure that would turn off another segment of the audience. But I digress. I heard from your mother this week that she's been confused by the show so far. Like, she doesn't really understand what's going on. And to be fair, she's a very casual viewer of the Marvel movies. She watches them all with us, but she watches them and then leaves them. She doesn't dive deep into them or rewatch them or really get into the lore of
Or
it.
write cringy fanfics about them.
But what I'm thinking is maybe this show was too narrowly targeted, you know. Maybe they're going after a very, very small portion. You know, they're a diehard audience, but they risk alienating a larger audience. I told y'all when we saw the first episode, and I still kind of feel this way, they haven't done anything to really hook me into the series yet. As a Marvel diehard, I'm along for the ride, so I didn't really need that. And they haven't done anything to turn me off of it completely, push me away, but again, they haven't done anything to really suck me in, so I'm afraid maybe they're sort of targeting too narrow an audience and not really bring in a wider audience like, you know, most of the Marvel properties seem like they're geared toward.
Yeah.
And after WandaVision, which turned out to be sort of pointless after 6 hours, I mean, it was kind of a fun ride, but in the end, it felt very hollow. I wonder if we're looking at some Marvel missteps here. I'm kind of just waiting for Loki at this point.
I mean, I'm
Which has a release date for June, so that's exciting.
Yes, it does.
I feel like these series are pretty much bonuses in between the movies.
I mean, yeah, it kind of is just bonuses, but honestly, I'm into it. It hasn't given me this big, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing kind of thing yet, but I'm into it, you know?
Yeah.
I also don't particularly care for this sort of no more heroes, destroy all heroes ethos that they're promoting with this series. I don't have a problem with that in a vacuum. I think it's a fine concept to explore, but it seems really out of place in a cinematic universe completely built on superheroes.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going to stop doing superhero movies. They're not going to, like, you know, Spider-Man's still around, the Guardians, Thor, whatever's coming next. What else have we got?
I have no
A
idea
lot
at
of
this
stuff.
point.
Shang-Chi.
I mean, he's
New to
like,
the
okay,
MCU.
that's a lot.
Some guy.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, so we know we're not going
Didn't-
away from that direction, so it just seems like a strange approach. I mean, I don't dislike the idea of exploring some of the darker side of what goes on and what it takes to prop up these institutions and whatnot. That's cool, but it's just the fact that we've got 6 episodes to do it in, and they're really taking their time with it. I wonder if they're really going to get to a relevant point or really do it satisfyingly. But then again, I have also heard talk that this is going to be a repeating series. Like, there's not going to be just one season of it. Like, obviously,
That could be fun.
WandaVision is probably just going to be one season.
Yeah.
If they explore Wanda more, they're going to do it in another medium. But it seems like this might be a series that gets multiple seasons. You know, it could be like Mando. So, in that light, you know, obviously they have more time to draw out the story and really get into it. So maybe that's what they're working on, and viewed that way, it seems a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't we just see something the other day about what was that character's name? Marvel Batman.
Moon Knight.
Tony
Isn't-
Stark?
Yeah, Moon Knight. Isn't that
He's getting a
character getting
series.
the series? Yeah.
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 It's just freaking.
He's pretty much a Batman, but he wears white
really
instead.
Is just Batman. But that's not what we're talking about.
He's cool though.
That's up for debate. What is cool is Sam and Bucky.
Moon Knight is cool.
I don't know. I still don't buy their chemistry yet. Like, I know Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie have a good chemistry with each other, but it's just not flourishing so far in this series.
Yeah, I think it's still building.
Everything
up in
feels
the
really
series.
clunky in the series so far. To
You
be
know,
honest with you, like remember they went to see Zemo in this
Yeah.
episode, and then
Oh
all of
my
a sudden they're just
gosh.
in the garage. There's that very abrupt cut.
He was
And
sitting
sort of
there.
like it's sort of like the very abrupt instance where all of a sudden Bucky's just there with Sam after the whole first episode. They're separated.
Yeah, it's
You
a-
think there's
it's
gonna
a
have to be
little
something to bring them
odd.
together. Nope, we're just here. Just
It's a bit odd right now, but he was sitting there talking to Zemo, and I'm just sitting there like, "Don't break him out, don't break him out," and then he breaks him out, and it's like, "God damn it,
well,
Bucky!"
Zemo had to get out. I mean,
Well, yeah, but it's still
plot.
just like, "God damn it, Bucky!"
I do feel like they're using Zemo as a little too much of a comedy figure right now. He's sort of like the wacky sidekick that teams up with the good guy. He's like
For
Joe.
now.
He's like Joe Pesci to Mel Gibson and Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon, and it's sort of like, really, that's the approach they're gonna go? Because he was such a serious, you know, character in Civil War. You know, very nuanced, and I really like the character in Civil War, and I don't like what they've done with him so far. Obviously, it's our first glance at him. We've got at least 3 more episodes, and maybe more, but I didn't really enjoy Zemo's appearance in this, nor did I enjoy the new cynical Sharon Carter either.
That one was interesting.
But at the same time, obviously there's more going on with her as we saw with her a little
She's
bit.
badass.
Yeah, I like that. I enjoyed seeing her as the new Black Widow, but that's not the point. I just didn't like her attitude in this. That sounds weird. I don't like your attitude, but I just don't like the way the character's being presented. But again, there's more to it because we saw that little coda with her and her little, female consigliere. Her
That's a
getting in the
word
car and
I've never heard.
I'm gonna, talk to you and on the ride. So obviously there's more going on with her.
Important.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like there's more.
Consigliere, it's like your person who they like to take care of business for you. They're like an advisor, especially in crime families and like the mob was presented like somebody up there who'd work for the Don.
I'm on mob TikTok, but I don't understand it, so.
But that's not the point. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was trying to illustrate.
That might be that might be a member in town of Salem.
Okay. Anyway, we're trying. It's interesting. I still don't feel one way or another towards the character.
The badass.
I mean, yeah, her fighting was cool.
I did feel like there were too many coincidences in this episode too. Like all of a sudden Sharon Carter's there, and like the crime boss or just happens to get shot right when she tells her goons to kill them, and just like I don't know, I didn't play all that well. And obviously there's a mystery going on here, and it's going to unfold, and we'll see how it plays out. This is much more of a down and dirty sort of espionage thriller, sort of like the Winter Soldier movie was compared to the other Marvel movies. So that's kind of cool.
I just want to say, Bucky having to act like the Winter Soldier, and then all that fighting. I'm still processing it.
Well, he's done a lot of fighting.
Well, yeah, I know.
And he was fighting people that seemed to be criminals, so it's not really that big.
Well, yeah, no, that's not big of a deal.
I feel like everyone got to be badass in this episode.
It was pretty cool.
I mean,
I liked watching.
He didn't initiate the violence; it came to him.
He did well. I liked it, but I'm still processing the fact that he had pretended to be Winter Soldier and all that, like still brainwashed stuff.
But like everyone got to be badass except for Sam.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot to do in this. I did feel like the action was a little repetitive in this episode.
I'm sorry.
It's like the action in the first two episodes was fairly distinct, and this one was just sort of like more of the same and more of the same and more of the same. But it's one episode. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think it was more of the same of what we got in the other episodes. I feel like the action in the other episodes were distinct, and then this one you just kind of saw the same action over and over in it.
Yeah.
And I also wonder, on what authority do Sam and Bucky get to go visit Zemo?
I have
Again,
no
this
idea.
is I'm very confused in how all this works. They're pardoned and they're part of this and they're not part of that and they work for the government a little bit but they don't. The Sokovia Accords and I'm still very confused.
They walk this very
and it's like if you're going to touch on that stuff, you need to explain it.
They just walk this very thin line between the two.
You just get to do whatever you want.
As far as Zemo goes, of course, within the context of the story, I don't trust him.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sam and Bucky team up with him. I realize they have a somewhat common goal in trying to eliminate the super soldiers, but their aims, their intentions are not the same.
Exactly.
Overall, so I don't really like them teaming up. But again, it's still basically every week we talk about this, and just like WandaVision was, it's like, well, we're gonna wait and see till next week, see how it goes, see how it comes up.
Yep.
So I'm still waiting and seeing. I wonder if I'm gonna be saying that by the end of the series. Well, let's wait and see what the second season brings us, or the movies that play off of this.
I mean, it's doing it in a not so smooth way, but it feels like it's building up, that's nice.
But is it good? But WandaVision felt like it was building something too, and then it kind of didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like some parts
like it did, just not what we were expecting.
I don't want to still be waiting for this to give us something once the series is over.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting too, Carla's description of the super soldier serum and their experience with it, where their veins were burning and she was praying to die. That's exactly the same description as what it's like to become a vampire in the Twilight universe.
Oh gosh.
Oh no, the vampire!
And I really liked her character until all of a sudden she's blowing people up.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that too, because if she's going to be established as the villain, let's let them be villains. I don't like these. I don't like these sort of villains where it's like, well, you can kind of be ambivalent, and maybe they've got some good sides, they got some bad sides. But don't get me wrong, I appreciate shades of gray. But in a superhero world, you're going to establish a villain. For the most part, I want them to be villainous. Like every now and then, you can play with it a little bit and have somebody who's maybe they're a villain, maybe they're not, but. I mean, still, basically, you're going to give me good guys, then give me bad guys who are really bad. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate that they're doing that with her. But there were so many layers to her character before that, and her motivations and whatnot. So even that seems sort of a little incongruous compared to what we've been getting already.
I feel as though there's supposed to be a little more in between what we're seeing.
I mean, obviously the villain needs to have
Well, I'm not sure they
Yeah.
were because I thought Power Broker was going to be established as the villain, but then all of a sudden
Well, they could be.
she's blowing people up and be like, the Power Broker's going to come big to us. They're sort of switching stuff, and I don't necessarily like swerves like that. So
They're at least the antagonists if they're not the villain.
we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's my review of the series. 3 episodes in, I'm still saying we'll see.
halfway
I
through.
feel as though that could be a little more. Like, I
wonder when
understand
they're
they're
gonna get the
working with
shield.
like, so much
And
time.
again, for like a Marvel diehard like me, that's fine. I'm going to watch the whole series,
Same.
but I wonder if they're turning people off because they're not really getting anywhere. It's just
Yeah.
constantly wait and see, wait and see, wait and see.
I wonder when they're gonna get the shield back. Episode
At
6?
some point.
Yeah, those scenes of them
they
throwing the
talked
shield,
about
that's
it.
literally the end credit scene of episode 6.
Right. They had a moment of talking about it in this episode.
Yeah, Bucky said he's going to get the damn thing.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of
And Sam
Bucky,
said destroy it.
apparently those references to Wakanda weren't just throwaway lines because we got one of the Dormilaje at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I did not see that coming.
Me
Even with the
neither.
reference to King T'Chaka,
Uh-huh.
and have Wakandans forgot about Baron Zemo's role in that.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming. Even when he was picking up the bees, I didn't even. I'm like, what is that? Why does he think that? I did not. I did
I thought
not.
he was going to collect
I did
the
not
quest.
I mean, I knew they meant something, but even when he's
I
sitting there
didn't know
talking
what,
to someone,
though.
like, you dropped something, hey, where are you? And I know somebody's going to show up. I'm like,
I'm sitting there
I
like,
did not-
nobody shoot Bucky.
I did not put it together that was the beads from Black Panther. But that's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. I feel as though like each episode we're just getting like this character, and it's like, what the.
That was like
and then this
the
character.
most interesting thing in the episode, though, is that setup and what it might portend for the series going forward. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. But overall, even that still is wait and see. So
Yeah.
that's my review of the first 3 episodes. The first half of the series, we'll see.
But at first I thought they were gonna maybe get the shield back this episode because on the previously on you saw like Bucky saying, "Let's steal the shield."
Yeah.
So I thought they're gonna get this episode, but nope. So maybe next episode.
Again, we'll see. So anybody got anything else they want to throw in? I don't have a whole lot. Like I've said what I needed to say.
I think
No,
that was
I
everything.
know.
pretty
Well, I do want to say when they went to Madripoor and they
Yeah.
got picked up by that car, but at first they're walking. How far do they have to walk before they got to that car?
No
I'm like,
idea.
did they walk from the U.S.? Did they swim across the ocean? All right, well that was our take on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3. All right, my dad always used to like to repeat the phrase "power corrupts" and "absolute power corrupts absolutely," and I feel like that's one of the major themes of this series. That and the us versus them aesthetic. And I think this week's episode was also focused on motivation, and I believe for that reason, in part at least, this was one of my favorite episodes because the characters and the show's motivation started to come into a clearer focus, except for maybe Sharon Osbourne. Nope.
No.
What was that? No. Sharon Carter, who I feel like did a almost a complete 180 from the way she was presented in the previous episode, although I do still think when she told Sam that he needed to play it out, that maybe she's playing him.
Yeah.
And I still think she could be the power broker.
That's a solid
Maybe.
thing.
Aaron could be the power broker. Zemo could be the power broker.
Possibly, quite possibly.
He could be.
I definitely
He
don't
could have
trust
been working
Sharon,
from prison.
though. That's definitely
He could be. It
possible.
could be a Kaiser Soze thing.
Okay.
Usual Suspects. It's another movie you'll need to see.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make note of
But
it.
I digress. I felt like in this episode with the Flag Smashers sort of decrying Cap and his shield as relics of a bygone era, I wonder if
Yeah.
they're starting to signal a paradigm shift for the MCU.
I don't know what that word means.
Like they're sort of changing their focus and the way they present themselves, and it's going to be sort of a major rebranding for them. I mean, I doubt it.
Same.
And I mean, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I'm all for evolving and for introducing more diversity, but I hope they're not going to distance themselves so much from what they've built that it makes me feel foolish for ever caring about it in the first place. Because, I mean, Cap was my guy, and they have been careful to treat him with reverence in this series, at least the Steve Rogers version of Cap, but I don't know, they're sort of going with a, no more heroes kind of aesthetic.
I kind of like what we're seeing, because we're kind of seeing, obviously in the other movies we saw, the heroes and people loving the heroes and whatnot, and now we're seeing kind of the other side, we're seeing the people who didn't.
I do like some, well, they did. I mean, the one Flag Smasher
yeah.
grew up idolizing Cap. And
Yeah.
I mean, Carl didn't seem to be against heroes, just against a certain kind of heroes.
Yeah, but we're seeing more about what happened that 5 years and
Yeah, I
how
mean, they're
things
dealing
have
with heavier
changed.
and certainly more timely topics in the
Definitely.
series. I
Very
think they've done a
much.
pretty good job with it so far. We talked about that as far back as the first episode review and wait and see how they handled it. And they're exploring some of the results, both intended and unintended consequences of the superhero society that Marvel's presented over these last
Yeah.
20 movies or so. I think they've been doing that since Age of Ultron, really, and I think at that time it was at least in part a response to the criticism that DC received overall, the mass destruction of Man of Steel. But now they seem to be really going deeper on it.
I kind of like it though.
I think they've done well so far. I do wonder when Carly says people need, or it's not Carly, it's actually her associate who, if he had a name, I apologize, I didn't hear it. When he said that people need heroes that look more like them, I wonder if he was talking about this new version of the super soldiers that don't have these jacked up super physiques.
Yeah.
Like I said, the new super soldiers seem, well, Nagel even specifically said that his superhero serum, super soldier serum is what I was trying to say.
Yes.
That's the tongue twister. Super soldier serum.
Triple S.
You know, it did make super soldiers that didn't appear to be freakishly large or super in any way. They just had normal looking people who had the powers.
Yeah.
So what else did this episode bring us or bring out for y'all?
Emotions. A lot of emotions.
It was a roller coaster.
The opening scenes showing Bucky's deprogramming I thought was really well done.
Yeah, that
Sebastian Stan was really good.
I cried during that scene. I absolutely loved it. Yes, he very much did.
Yeah, the emotional manipulation.
Just the moment Bucky's sitting there like, I'm free, you know?
His powers to make people share emotions, like Blue Diamond.
Oh gosh.
Bucky is Blue Diamond, knew they.
I feel like all the acting in the series has been really good. I mean, I do have some qualms with Zemo, but I'll get to that in a minute. But overall, and even in Zemo's, because I think the acting is really good.
Yeah.
And the action in the series has been top notch.
That's true.
And as I say, the subjects they're covering and the aim of the story has all been fine. The direction of the story is fine. But I do feel like technically this is one of the worst Marvel productions, at least in terms of structure and pacing and even somewhat the more technical elements of the show. I don't think it looks as good as some of the others. I think it has some weird cuts and it's paced weird. And I mean, even looking at something like WandaVision, which turned out to be pretty empty and pointless at the end, for most of the series, say for maybe the last couple episodes, it was a much more fun ride and a much more well-produced and presented series, in my opinion.
The pacing, I have to agree, is kind of odd.
They jam-pack it.
There's so much.
There's some stuff where there's
and they kind of hurry
weird
some
time
of the
jumps
stuff.
and like we said in the second episode, all of a sudden Bucky and Sam are just together. There's no preamble to it. The first episode was all about y'all. You know, you haven't talked to Sam and they haven't had any kind of communication. There's nothing to bring them back together. And all of a sudden, boom, they're just together.
Exactly.
And it's continued on like that. I do wonder if perhaps this series suffered more because of COVID than WandaVision did. Both in terms of maybe its production had to, shut down and then restart at some point, or they had to rework the series a little bit because of COVID. I've heard some things about that.
Yeah.
So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't necessarily think they set out to intentionally make a sloppy series. I just think it's come off like that a little bit. But if it's a choice of, okay, well, you can have a slightly sloppier series, but you get it now, or we can get it, and pretty it up and make it better, but you don't get it for another 9 months or so, I might still take it now. I'm not complaining about it. And as a Marvel fan, again, I'm along for the ride, but I do think this is not necessarily something that's going to draw new fans in.
Quite possibly. That's what I was going to say about the cuts, that maybe they had to rework it due to COVID some.
Yeah, but to be honest, how much they jam-packed this, they could have made it 12 episodes instead of 6. Or
At this point, they probably could have.
Well, I'm holding out hope, too, that this is going to be a multi-season series. It's not going to be a one-off like WandaVision.
Because they don't have the shield yet.
And that will help it a lot, because, a lot of the stuff they're building toward, they really don't have the proper amount of time to resolve it all.
Exactly.
There's just no way. They're digging in way too deep, and they haven't gotten far enough. So I really feel like this is going to carry on for multiple seasons, and it'll be to the show's benefit.
Yeah, at this point, I'm definitely convinced that there'll be at least one.
And it seems like it could easily be going on in the background of some of the other stories that'll carry out in the movies, we've got so much going on still.
And for all I know how jam-packed these episodes are, the thing that mainly happens in the next episode is John Walker dies immediately, they get the shield, they start training with it, then 5 other things happen.
It could, and that's I don't think that's the right way to go, but we don't know what their overall intent is and how it fits into the larger scheme of things, but
I am waiting to see next week what the reaction.
I feel like they're going off in multiple directions. They've got a lot of
stuff is
pans in the fire, as it were, and we've got the stuff with the Skrulls and the Secret Invasion, and we're just starting to get into Monica Rambeau and her powers, and she could be a major player, and we've still got Spider-Man's story to resolve, and now Wanda going off. We're going to see some of that in Doctor Strange. We're probably going to start to get into multiverse, and you've got new series like the Eternals and Shang-Chi coming up, and eventually we're going to get Fantastic Four, and eventually the X-Men are going to show up. They've got a lot they can go on with, so it's not like they have to really build everything up and get rid of it. So it can be going on concurrently.
Yeah, it seems to slowly building up to young Avengers.
It seems like they're in a better position now. I mean, with the Infinity Saga, of course, they had to kind of build up to that crescendo with Thanos going after the stones and then fighting him. And now we don't necessarily have that one overarching theme. We can work on multiple layers, I think. So you have the opportunity for something like this to carry on for multiple seasons. Like WandaVision by its nature couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could, really, but I mean, not with the same conceit. Now she'd have to be off somewhere else doing something else.
Yeah.
You still follow the characters, but it wouldn't be the same thing. But something like this, which is sort of set up just like a 70s espionage thriller, it could certainly carry on for multiple seasons.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe we'll get a Falcon movie.
That would be great.
I mean, it'd be fine, but I don't think you need it since you have the series to do it. And like I say, I think once you're out from the shadow of COVID a little more, and you can carry on your production schedule as you plan it, and you don't have to make adjustments to your storylines for fear of...
You said a Falcon movie. We could get a Bucky movie. Most of Winter Soldier. It'll be his time as the Winter Soldier.
We could get either one, but like I said, I don't think you need it. As long as you've got the series, you don't need it.
Oh yeah, no, you definitely don't need it.
Because even though I have some complaints about this particular series, and even though I had complaints about what WandaVision offered in totality once it was all done, you still have the opportunity to tell just as good a story and have just as good a presentation through these series as you would in a movie.
Yeah.
The series may be even
better because you have more time to flesh things out.
Like, these are already jam-packed. Imagine how jam-packed it'd be in a movie.
Like, two of my favorite television series of all time are MASH and The Odd Couple, and they're both based on movies, and the movies are well regarded, but I think the series are even better because you have way more time to flesh out the characters and find out more about them and really grow and expand the concepts.
Yeah.
But in a movie, they've been mad at for about 5 seconds.
They weren't there that long.
That even shorter in a movie.
I felt like Magic War was going to play a bigger part, and I guess it still is.
I was going to say, very much still could.
We don't know what...
Shit's about to jump off there, but...
Before I know Falcon, be like, yo, power broker, I need a power broker.
Nice.
I mentioned earlier that I had some issues with the Zemo performance, and it's not that I have a problem with the actor's performance. I think he's doing it well. And I don't dislike the Zemo character in the series, but I liked him better the way he was portrayed in Civil War, where he was way more reserved and more menacing for that. He had that scene in the courtyard with the kids.
Yeah.
When he offered the Turkish Delight and got the information from him, and I thought that was the closest to the Civil War Zemo that we've gotten in the series so far. And I would have liked to have seen, or I would like to see more of that Zemo. But I don't hate his performance. It's just that I wasn't really expecting him to be more of the comedy sidekick. And he's definitely got an edge underneath that. I'm not saying he's just a joke in the series, but he's more over the top in this, and I don't think a character has to be over the top to be entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had great over the top villains in Marvel like Killmonger and Claw. Ultron. Thanos I don't think was too over the top in his performance at least, but I do think maybe perhaps because Falcon and Bucky are both understated characters, neither one of them play it very over the top.
Yeah.
So maybe they felt the need to make Zemo be more over the top so that he stood out from them a little bit, and there was that contrast of here's the good guys and clearly he's on a different level. So you can make an excuse for that. And like I said, I think he's playing it fine, and it's entertaining. It's just I would prefer the other version of Zemo.
Yeah, I don't remember the other version of Zemo that well, but... To me, Zemo's kind of iffy. It's like, I kind of like you, but this is also kind of weird vibes that I'm getting.
I can't wait to see more of him.
Oh, definitely. Especially after this episode when he disappears. It's like, well, where did you go, sir?
Into the sewers.
Well, yeah. But
He's still on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Zemo with the TMNT. I need a picture of Zemo with the TMNT.
This is actually it. Bucky and Sam have to go fight Pennywise.
Pennywise in the corner.
Well, TMNT is not a Marvel comic, but it was based off the story of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You didn't know that?
No.
Like the radioactive chemical that affected Daredevil spilled down in the sewer, and that begot the Turtles. That was the concept of the original Turtles.
I hardly know the story of Daredevil.
He got hit in the face with radioactive.
Nice.
Do you guys, speaking of Falcon and Winter Soldier again, think it's interesting how venerated Steve is in the series? How they take great care to say Steve never got corrupted by the serum. Everybody, hey, I used to be a Captain America fan, and even though Carly semi comes down on him for it and says, his time is gone, she doesn't really
come
denigrate
down.
Steve at all.
Yeah.
And it's just they're taking great care to hold him up while at the same time, sort of decrying superheroes in general and the superheroes of his era.
It's interesting.
I do find it weird too when Zemo asks Sam, "Would you take the serum?" and Sam was just, "Nope." I do find that a bit strange.
I do.
Now at this point in hindsight, maybe he feels different, but considering how much he revered Steve and how well it worked out for Steve,
his two best friends,
he would have had no reason to think it would be bad. I mean, Bucky's a different case. It wasn't just the serum that affected him. He was brainwashed. So I do find it a little disingenuous.
Yeah, well, not his reason.
On the part of the character.
It could have also been because it was Zemo asking.
I do wonder what the point is too. It seems like the fact that they had him be so staunch against it is going to build to something. Maybe he'll have the chance to take it, or maybe he'll need to take it to save his life.
Maybe.
In the end, so I feel like that could be building to something.
A lot of things could be building something at this point.
I mean, he's going up against at least like 6 or 7 other super soldiers.
Speaking of building or not, I thought it was odd too at the end that John Walker, "What's with all the knives?" and then immediately close up of a knife, close up of a knife, close up of a knife, close up of a knife.
Just pointing out the fact that
then it didn't really come to anything else. It was just this weird little thing they brought attention to for nothing really.
We did get that really nice shot of Bucky catching one.
Well, that was one of the close-ups I'm talking about. But did they feel the need to point out that, like, okay, maybe it's odd that we're all fighting with knives, but I mean,
maybe there's a choreographed going. Maybe there's a choreographed a bunch of knives, and then they're like, "Man, we have a lot of knives here," and then decide to add that in.
No, they was just like, "Damn, we need a shot of Sebastian Stan holding a knife. Somebody give us a reason to do this."
I don't know. That John Walker moment was weird, but overall, I really like what they've done with the character of John Walker.
Yeah, he's a brilliant.
I knew he was going to end up. I figured he was going to end up being the villain in the end. Or at first, I thought he was just going to be a patsy and just sort of a symbol and have almost nothing to do with the plot. But then once we saw some of his backstory and stuff, it was clear they were going to build it into a more meaningful character. And knowing where the story goes in the comics and knowing where we've been in the movies, it seemed like he was going to be at least somewhat a villain in it.
Yeah.
But I like the way they built it. I like the way we got his backstory. And I like the way you see that he's not just a one-dimensional character, that there are layers to him. And you can see that he does have a great deal of integrity, and you see why they would have thought that he could be a good Captain America, or somebody would have thought that anyway. But then you see him sort of shifting. You see that frustration building, that he's not as super as some of these other enemies he has to face, and that frustration. And just sort of, as he builds to sort of become this embodiment of American imperialism and white rage, as he finally decides to take the serum and unleashes the anger inside. There's that scene where early on, Sam's meeting with Carly, and they're waiting on him. Walker says, "You got 10 minutes," and he's just like going out of his mind. He's playing it like he's high on coke or meth or something, or like he's a junkie that just needs a hit, or like he's going through roid rage, which I guess would be more appropriate to the end of the episode, but. I really like his performance, and I like what they've done with the character. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he is clearly becoming the villain. He's clearly going to be the villain.
We have anywhere from 2 to 4 villains currently.
And I mean, in some cases, I appreciate shades of gray, but I also like, especially in a superhero story, you've got a clear hero and you've got a clear villain. And clearly, he's going to be a villain. But I like the fact that they took time to make the character multidimensional and build up to, instead of saying, okay, he's the bad guy just because he is the bad guy, just because he's the new Cap, so he's just the bad guy. They gave layers to the character, and I appreciate that.
I like the book behind it and all that, but I still absolutely despise the character.
And again, I think. It's all about, he faced adversity, he faced issues, but it's about how he chose to deal with them,
Yeah.
And that's what defines the difference between a hero and a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the character. Not like, it's one of my favorite characters, I want to be like him. But I mean, I love Killmonger,
He's
too.
a character you love to
and I disagree with I disagree with not necessarily his intentions, but his methods, certainly.
Yeah.
And like Ulysses Claw, I mean, he was just a villain, but I thought he was a great character.
See, there's some villains that I absolutely adore. John Walker is not one of them. I'm ready to see
But do you love to
destroy
hate him?
Yes.
I feel like they misstepped a bit with Thanos. They almost made him too sympathetic. Like I didn't sympathize with him at all. Again, his intention wasn't even that good. His intention was to manipulate things because he thought it needed to be, but he was going about it completely wrong. He was playing God.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a kind of dumbass.
And I mean, he could have done with the power of the Infinity Stones. He could have done so many more things, but his still intention was to wipe out half of all life, and that was his plan before he ever had the stones.
Yeah.
I like the Thanos in the comics better, where he was just trying to appease death by killing half the universe's population. I thought that made for a way better villain, but the way it was presented in Marvel, again, I don't mind shades of gray, and I don't mind multidimensional characters, but I thought they missed that with Thanos. They softened him enough that some people were like, well, maybe Thanos had a good idea, but when you think about it, is really killing half of all life the best idea, especially when you have infinite power?
Definitely.
Yeah, gauntlet that can literally rewrite reality. Just one of those stones can technically rewrite reality.
So again, I think they're doing a better job of building John Walker as a clear villain. I think, the Flag Smashers were still not... We see that, Zemo accused Carly of being a supremacist, and Sam took that to her, and she defended it, but then all of a sudden started showing some signs of being that way. So she's got to get to the point where she starts questioning, am I doing things the right way? So again, we're not sure that they're necessarily the villains, but they've definitely done villainous things.
Yeah.
But that's the case of more shades of gray and more like maybe they just made mistakes and they're not sure what they're doing. So I think they've done pretty well with all the characters in this, and we still have no idea what the Power Brokers deal is or how they're going to be. And we know Zemo's a villain to a degree, but I will say one thing about Zemo. He is focused on his mission. When he had the opportunity to take the serum, he smashed it all up.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he smashed it all.
Yeah.
I like that.
But he's definitely focused and definitely intent in holding to his morals that no super soldier. So you can give him that much at least for whatever his other faults are, and I'm sure there are many. But of course, one vial escaped, and that's the one that John Walker took, and it... before that, of course, we'd realized that there was some thought that he and Lamar Hoskins,
yes,
Battlestar, had gotten the super soldier serum already, but clearly because they showed his envy or even jealousy of Bucky, saying it's so easy for you with that serum running through your veins, and at that point you realize, okay, well, he doesn't have the serum yet, and of course when he picks up the vial, and you realize he's probably going to take it, or he and Hoskins are going to share or something. So, and then of course by the end of this episode he has taken it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty dope scene. Like I like the action in this one. This is my favorite series of action scenes in any of the episodes so far. And of course, we should talk about the scene with Adora Milaje coming after Zemo.
I was about to bring that up because after this scene, we see him sitting there like they weren't even super soldiers or whatever he says.
Walker.
Yeah.
I will feel like Walker almost held his own too much with them. I guess just the shield gave him the advantage.
Possibly.
I mean, they did win in the end, even after Bucky stepped in, and the one lady whose name, I know Bucky says it, but I can't remember it. I only remember Okoye as far as the Adora Milaje.
Yeah.
Io, wait.
Maybe. I don't want to.
One of them is named Io.
I knew it was something with an I, but I don't want to say it wrong. But she takes his arm off. Not like brutally, just like...
She like deactivates it.
Hits the release mechanism.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people pointing out that's got to be a little emotional to Bucky, seeing that there is a failsafe to his arm.
But it's a bit of an odd scene in that they get so distracted that Zemo's able to just easily slip out.
Yeah, he just slips right out.
And like certainly Walker and Hoskins shouldn't have been enough to distract the Adora Milaje that they couldn't keep one eye on Zemo. And even once Bucky and Sam stepped in, it was a little bit more, but you'd think they would have been a little more focused on their mission.
Yeah.
But that's how Zemo was allowed to escape, and we've yet to see where he ended up. I guess that'll come back in the next episode. Or knowing the way Marvel puts out their series, maybe we'll come back to the last episode.
Now I'll come back in a movie like 5 years from now.
Right. One of my favorite parts...
Yeah, it's possible. We've seen the last of Zemo for now. Especially if it's going to be multi-seasons. It's possible.
One of my favorite parts was during that scene when, they're fighting against John Walker and Battlestar, and Bucky and Sam are standing there, and Sam's like, we should probably do something, and Bucky's like, looking good, John? And it's like, that's the mood.
Talking about something that wasn't looking good, though, I kept wondering when Sam was going to break out the Falcon gear again, but then when he does to go meet up with Carly, it was so abrupt, and just like, oh, it's cosplay time!
You took time to get your stuff?
It just looked weird and out of place, like he had to suit up, and it just...
It was it's understandable,
like Bucky
but it was a little bit
he just
odd.
throws on his jacket, but I know Falcon,
I like his
Falcon,
thing.
Makes use of the tech. I get that, but he's got his, and I'm sure somewhere in the lore the suit has practical purposes as well, but just was sort of abrupt, like all of a sudden it's dress up time. We gotta get to the costume party. Come on.
Little did we know, it was just on underneath some of his clothes. He just had to grab his gear out.
I doubt he can fit
or something. Well, not like the big gear stuff. What's called? That was like
not
sitting
his backpack, but like
someplace.
his jumpsuit.
But yeah, like his actual suit. It was just on under his
He's
clothes.
like Superman, just take off the shirt.
Exactly. That's a scene I'd like to see.
That rips off his shirt.
Sam Wilson wearing his regular stuff, whips it off like.
No, he just rips off his shirt, but then he forgot to put on his undershirt. Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, at some point in time, they did say that they wanted to do nude scenes with each other. So, just goes to rip off the shirt like, fuck, I forgot the suit.
All right, before we touch on the climax of this episode, two more little notes. One is I I know I complained about Zemo being a little too comedic, but I did like the one scene where Sam was like, just leave it. He's just going to exploit you to that head tilt thing. And Zemo's like half through the head tilt.
Yeah.
Straightens his head. That was a cute little moment. And I do think the use of characters' first names in this series is interesting. Because if you'll notice, it seems to either be... It can be used in one of two ways. They're either using it as a sign of a connection between the two characters, or they're using it where one character is sort of talking down to another character. Like when Walker uses Sam's name, it seems sort of like, what the fuck are you using my name for? You don't know me. But sometimes it's more like illustrating a connection between the characters. So I just really picked up on the use of when first names are used and how and why.
Yeah. That takes me back to the moment when I forget how to pronounce them again. The Wakandan women, yes. And then Zemo's gotten away, and the one is talking to Bucky or whatever, and she says the stuff in Wakandan and then calls him James.
Yeah, I know. I want to know what she said, and I checked the closed caption. The closed caption is speaking Wakandan. It's like, thanks, closed caption.
I don't know where the information came from. I've seen some people online just saying that she was pretty much saying someone damns him. Somebody suggested that she was saying a god character or whatever from Wakanda damns him, that sort of thing.
God damn it, James.
Pretty much.
So, of course, the big climax of this episode, in the midst of the fight, Carly kills Hoskins.
Yes.
Unintentionally, probably, but she did punch him, knowing she had super strength.
Yeah.
And so then the Flag Smashers flee.
Yep.
I struggled with that. Flag Smashers flee.
Yeah.
Flag Smashers flee.
But then John Sam and Bucky, they all kind of
John goes full rage after him and
busts through a window.
He catches up to her compatriot first, takes him down with several hard shield shots, and beats him to death with the shield.
Yeah.
It's sort of in a scene sort of reminiscent of Steve taking the shield down on Tony's chest in Civil War, but the difference being in Civil War, Tony had armor on.
Yeah, but I mean, Steve got to the point that he went through the armor, but he stopped.
To a degree, but it was just one shot down, and he left it and went away.
Yeah.
And Walker continued, and that haunting image of him standing there with the bloody shield, which I thought
blood
was
on the shield.
Yeah, that's a.
I mean, come on, how symbolic is that? They've talked about all the darkness and missteps behind the veneer of the heroes. So I mean, obviously, a lot of symbolism there. Not just in John going over the edge, but in everything that shield has stood for and represented both good and bad. So
yeah.
And of course, everybody was filming on their cell phones. So, and that's going to change the image of new Cap.
That, like I said, that's a big thing that I'm interested to see next week.
I find it sort of strange that Carla just stood back and watched it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess she was scared, but
I think she was a bit shocked, fuck.
It's going to be interesting to see how that affects her character going forward, that she didn't step in when she could have.
Yeah.
If she had a Glock, she could have stepped in.
And I think that was another interesting thing, too, when Zemo stopped her when he shot her.
Yeah.
And then he's sort of holding her pinned down behind the table. You think she could have come up with something? She could have kicked something back at him or done something. Maybe she was just hurt from the wound.
Probably.
But she seems a little hesitant in her super soldier abilities at times. Like maybe she's not completely sure of herself.
That definitely seems to be a bit of a character. But like I said, that's something I'm interested to see play out next week, is the reaction to what John Walker did. And obviously all that footage ending up everywhere.
Like I thought this was the best episode of the four so far.
Yeah.
I thought the action was the best. I thought, again, the motivations of the characters in the series itself have come into much clearer focus. I think they're really refining what the points they're trying to get to. Mm-hmm. I think they're doing it pretty well. And like I said, there's some awesome scenes and symbolism within the show. The bloody shield, and I thought Hoskins' death scene was really well done too for what it was. And then Walker being pushed over the edge. And I mean, I get it. His friend was just killed in front of him. Of course, he's going to want to get, at the very least, justice, if not revenge. I can understand that feeling, but again, he takes it too far. And
definitely.
And that's the difference between being a hero and not. He goes too far with it. But it's not like at least they didn't just have him be, I took the serum and now I'm just gonna go roid rage and turn evil on you. At least he had something to push him over the edge.
Yeah.
But, unlike Goku going Super Saiyan when Krillin dies and becoming more of a hero, he went and became less of a hero in the wake of it. So.
Yeah. And of course, it's called when he does that and he's putting the shield back on, standing there. That's when Sam and Bucky catches up, sees it, and they're like, "Fuck."
So I like what they did this week. I hope next week's episode continues on this pace, continues on this course. I just hope that...
hope it gets better. Like, it's not like we've reached some peak and now it's just gonna kind of sit there, you know?
It'd be awesome if it got even better from here.
I mean, it has
I hope,
to.
and I hope it'll start to feel a little more coherent too, because like I said, just the technical issues to me,
I think it might.
both in
At
the
least
actual
slightly.
technical presentation of the series and the presentation of the story have been a little
Yeah.
hard for me to swallow, but it hasn't ruined it. Just it's noticeable.
Yeah, maybe we'll see some of what's going on with Shen and Zemo next week.
And maybe we'll finally see the Power Broker.
I think
Maybe.
we've already seen the Power Broker personally.
Quite possibly. We just don't
As the
know
Power
it
Broker.
yet.
But then again, if it's going to be multiple seasons, we may not find out who the Power Broker is this season.
That's
Why not?
also
There's no point in
strong
revealing it when
possibility.
you don't need to.
Unless they plan on doing a second season with a different big villain, you know?
I don't know.
Or if this is going to be something that kind of fills in between
Yeah, I don't see this being like a
things.
villain of the week or a villain of the season sort of series. I think
Me
the Power Broker
neither.
would be sort of hanging. I mean, they shrouded them in mystery so much. The reveal's going to be a big deal, and then that's just the jumping off point. Then you still have to deal with them just because you know who they are.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be something.
It could
if
be-
it's going to be multiple seasons, it's going to carry on for a while. I would assume.
It could be that season 1 ends with the reveal of the
And I
Power
assume
Broker.
that the Power
And then
Broker-
season 2 is dealing with that.
Unlike with a lot of the superhero movies where you bring out the big villain, but then you have to neutralize them by the end of it. I don't think, even if it doesn't continue on as a series, they didn't necessarily have to neutralize this villain. They could carry on in the movies and whatnot as well. So I think the Power Broker's going to be around for a while. But that's just the way I feel about it. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I was going to mention an interesting thing, semi-related to the episode, but not actually part of the episode, was the day before the episode came out, they released a website involving all this. And at launch, they had references to Shang-Chi and X-Men on the site, which was deleted hours later.
Well, Madripoor does connect to
Yeah.
Wolverine.
Yeah, and
But we just found it interesting.
And on some of the wallpapers, I'm pretty sure you can see the Power Broker's like eyes in the background. At least I assume it's the Power Broker since.
I know you guys have a video up on VDC that shows some of the secrets you found there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all can check that out. Links for videos here in the description here. And one more thing I wanted to say that I really liked in this episode, when Carly and Sam are having their heart-to-heart,
Uh-huh.
and she says, "But Sam, what if I'm making the world a better place?" He says, "Not if you're killing people. It's just different." I really liked that exchange
Same.
right there. I thought that was that's maybe the best piece of writing in the series so far. I thought that was just brilliant and eloquent and perfectly stated.
Yeah. I also like how Sam...
Especially the way it sort of mirrors what goes on with John at the end of the episode.
I also like how Sam talks about how he agrees with the one aspect of
He
it,
agrees
but
with
not...
her aims, but not her methods.
Yeah, the
I don't know if that's the
methods.
exact wording, but that's what
Yeah.
he was getting at. And then that's kind of what, we see that a lot with the different heroes and the way they're sort of juxtaposed with each other and their methods and what it's taken to get where we are and where we go from here. So
It was just something nice that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the whole episode, though. Good
Alright,
episode.
so Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 5 is in the books.
Yeah.
I thought this was a kind of a weird episode. It felt like the end of a movie,
Uh-huh.
and then it sort of felt like the middle of a movie, and then it sort of felt like a season finale of a series, and then it again felt like the middle third of a movie,
Yeah.
and then by the end it sort of felt like the penultimate episode of a series, which it is.
Yeah.
At least the season of a series.
It was definitely interesting, like, vibe and pacing, kind of. It was definitely calmer than the previous episode, I would say.
Did you say
Yeah.
calmer?
Yes, calmer. At least a good chunk of it.
There wasn't nearly as much action.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I was on the edge of my seat for
It was amazing
a good
stuff,
bit,
but-
but we got some of the kind of content that I really enjoy, of just some calm interactions
they're-
between a couple characters.
They're just kind of chilling for most of the
Exactly.
episode.
Yeah, and again, that lends to the idea I have that it felt like this episode was trying to be a bunch of different things. But
Possibly.
this, unlike previous episodes where it felt like it was a case of editing or restructuring, this sort of felt like this is what this episode was always intended to be, and it's just the way they chose to go with
It
it.
was very close to what they originally planned.
I'm not necessarily complaining about it, it just,
It was different.
another example of it feeling a little strange.
Yeah.
I feel like it's trying to be too many things at one time, maybe.
They definitely are doing quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it has a different feeling than a lot of other shows I've watched.
Yeah.
With this episode, Sam finally got the shield.
Finally.
We're not
Finally.
He
exactly
looks
sure
great
what he's
with
going to
it.
do with it, but we did get the training montage, so it seems like he's going to go forward with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We also found out that Bucky knew that Cap was at least going to give Sam the shield.
Yeah. which is interesting.
His exact words were something to the effect of, well, when Steve told me what he was going to do, so we're still not 100% sure that Steve told him about his entire plan of living out his life in the past, but he at least knew more at the time than Sam did.
Yeah. We also saw Sam before we see him with the shield and all his training. We see him take it to Isaiah Bradley.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was emotional.
Yeah, it was nice to see some more Bradley in the series. It'd be nice to see even more, maybe even get some flashbacks to his...
I'd really like that.
Whether it's just a part of a movie or series, or he gets his entire movie to himself, or an entire series.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll explore more of his past and his story.
I definitely want to see more of his story.
But what we got in this was well presented, to be sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
And we saw the just quick end to Zemo's character.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he wasn't killed, and I mean, anybody who thought Bucky was going to shoot him obviously hadn't paid attention to the numerous trailers that showed that scene where Bucky's dropping the bullets at Zemo's feet.
Yeah. See
Dropping
him
the bullets.
in Sokovia.
But as it was, he just found him at the Sokovian monument and brought the Dora Milaje there, and they took him off to the raft, and we're done with Zemo.
At least for now. I don't think we're fully done with him.
True.
He's alive. They didn't kill the enemy. He's got to come back.
True, but I don't think he's going to come back this season at the very least. And if this series does continue either as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier or as Captain America and White Wolf or whatever it morphs into, I don't know that Zemo's going to be back along for the ride here, but he's certainly still in Marvel's back pocket to be pulled out when they want to use it. But but again, I was surprised they invested so much in him for a couple of episodes, and then he made his run. It looked like, okay, now we're really going to get into Zemo. No, we're done with him.
He had to go mourn his family. Now he's off with the London people.
Again, I didn't love the way Zemo was presented in this series. I thought the character was done better in Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't had that version of him in Civil War, I probably would have liked this character just fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not happy to see him go, and I think it was a little quick and a little ignominious, but I'm also not mourning the loss, because maybe now we can focus on the elements that I'm enjoying more in the show.
That's kind of how I feel towards the entirety of Zemo.
I thought it was interesting that Carly and the remaining Flag Smashers were sort of de-emphasized for a lot of this show.
Yeah.
A lot of this particular episode.
Yeah.
They definitely had a place, and they've definitely been put in place to be front and center of the final episode.
Oh yeah. Next episode's got to be big.
And of course, we did get to see John Walker, not on trial exactly, but facing the government over his recent actions. And unlike many people thought, he didn't. I guess he did get off with it to a degree, like he wasn't put in prison, but he was allowed to walk away from it just without his
Captain America title.
Without his Captain America title and without his military pension at all.
Yeah. But,
And Julia Louis-Dreyfus made a cameo in the series as a Contessa. I don't know if that's a character from the comics or not, but obviously she's connected to some other person or persons or organization and sort of recruiting John Walker.
Definitely.
I imagine maybe she's hooked up with the Power Broker.
That's definitely my guess.
I don't think she herself
maybe
would be the
Power Broker.
I don't think so, because why would they come and confront him? The Power Broker seems more like someone who's going to work through other people.
Yeah.
And I still think Sharon's the Power Broker.
Oh, yeah. This episode,
we got her one little scene where it seems like she's setting up Sam with the baddie that he fought in the first episode in the plane. He makes a return to deliver some tech to the Flag Smasher, not seemingly, I mean, we heard Sharon talking on the phone to somebody speaking in French, and then he comes up speaking French to the Flag Smasher, so it seems like it was him.
Maybe they're two different French guys.
Yeah.
Could be a red herring.
I doubt it. And I mean, it doesn't mean, even if I'm right, and I'm pretty sure I am, it doesn't mean that I'm right about her being the Power Broker, but she still seems to have her own ends, and I could still well be right about her setting up Sam, as it were,
if she's not the Power Broker, I feel as though she definitely has connections to the Power Broker.
In the final episode, it's going to be two French guys fighting.
I did think it was interesting, another review of the previous episode said that, well, Sharon can't be the Power Broker because she says the Power Broker's not happy when she's on the phone talking to Sam. Like, she couldn't be duplicitous and be making that up and just misdirecting him. Of course she could still be the Power Broker, and I still think she is.
She could be talking about herself.
I mean, she doesn't have an iPhone.
Person. That's true. We saw her phone. We saw the back of it. It's not an iPhone. So there's nothing saying she's a good guy.
Or a good gal in this case.
Yeah. And then we got that scene of John Walker visiting Lamar's family.
Yeah, I actually liked that scene a lot.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good scene.
John Walker's obviously got a lot of shit going on with him, but I thought there was a sweetness to that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't completely honest with Lamar's family.
Exactly.
Definitely.
But I did
When he said the person he killed was the person that killed Lamar, I mean, he could have said, I guess he could have explained that Nico was holding him back
Yeah.
to stop him from getting to Carly when she did it, but
That they were working together or something. So that's what I really didn't care for.
it's just another one of those instances where you get to see some of the layers behind John Walker. And
Yeah.
he's still totally a villain.
Oh,
and
yeah,
going to become even
definitely.
more of one, it seems like, as the story goes on. But I like the fact that, again, it's not ambiguous. We get he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Or he is transitioning into being the bad guy, however you want to look at it. But
Yeah.
it's still a layered character. There's more there than just bad for bad's sake or
Yeah.
good for good's sake. I like the fact that there's layers to the character.
Same.
Not that he's the only
He's like
layered
an-
character. We're
he's
just
like an
talking about him in
Definitely.
particular.
He's like an ogre. He has layers.
Lol. That's something I like in these Marvel characters and shows, though. We're getting layers.
Yes.
That's important in character.
Yes, I need a layered cake.
Oh gosh.
7 layers.
Continuing on, though.
7 secret layers.
We also got some nice. Well, it seemed like some nice bonding.
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 That's when you bond with Bucky.
Bonding with Bucky and Sam. Once Sam is. I guess he tried to give the shield to Isaiah, and Isaiah wouldn't take it, but he had his visit with Isaiah, and he's decided to come back home for a while with his sister and her kids. And let me just say the fact that he's Uncle Sam to them is absolutely perfect.
Yes.
I meant to comment on the very first episode when they first uttered that name.
Yeah. Definitely.
But regardless, they get the community together to help rebuild their boat, and Bucky shows up to help, and there's some nice scenes with them.
I just want to know where
Yeah.
Bucky came from.
But I don't.
There.
He just shows up.
That's all he does.
Just like he did in the second
He
episode.
walked there, just like they walked to Madripoor, and Sam apparently walked to Baltimore, so you saw him just walking away with no vehicle in sight.
Fact.
Bucky walks away from Sam's sister's house with no vehicles in sight. Everybody, they just walk a lot.
They do. That's how they
That's
stay
how they stay in
fit.
shape, yeah.
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 It seemed like some nice bonding between the two of them, but then they leave on a sort of enigmatic note. Where they're like, hey, if you hear anything about Carly, let me know, and we'll be there. But not as a team. No, not as a team. Not partners. Not friends. But
Co-workers.
don't know what we are exactly. But it's just, I don't know if that's more like, hey, they were never, clearly they were adversarial when we first saw them together.
Yeah.
In Winter Soldier and even in Civil War to a degree, even though they were starting to fight on the same side then.
Yeah.
But I thought, by this point the relationship had built more to where there was a friendship there, and I guess
They're
there
definitely
still could be.
I think it's built to that point. They just haven't acknowledged
They
it
may
yet.
suppress it a bit, but I
Exactly.
just, if it's just a matter of, hey, this is just where the characters are right now in their relationship, that's fine. But I'm not sure I like what it portends for them and the larger Marvel universe and the statements the show is trying to make going forward. But I'll, let it play out. It is
Yeah.
what it is. It wasn't unentertaining,
Yeah, to me,
and it wasn't terrible either on the surface. So.
Yeah, it just kind of came off as Bucky and Sam doing the
mean,
we're totally friends, but not acknowledging
It was cute
thing.
it was cute on the surface.
Yeah.
Let's see what it means deeper down before we
Yeah.
give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, clearly they're setting up. Clearly they want to set up. If nothing else, they want to set up now Sam is the focus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
him taking the shield and starting to perhaps assume the mantle of Captain America or Captain Falcon or whatever he's
Falcon.
gonna whatever
Yeah.
persona he's gonna assume, but taking that role, taking the shield and taking the responsibility and the weight of it on, with the training montage that I mentioned. I think I mentioned it,
Yeah.
didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, then it's like, oh, okay, so we're in the middle of a movie now. I thought we were at the end of it, and we're beginning this other story. And
It's like 10 different stories happening here.
but anyway, Sam's clearly set up to now be the main focus, even though it's Falcon and Winter Soldier. He was
Yeah.
he was Steve's chosen successor. He was the one that was.
I think
probably
Bucky's
gonna carry the
still
shield.
gonna get his
No, I
moment
think
and
Bucky's gonna
stuff,
come.
yeah.
I think, like he said, he told him, when you find out about Carly, let me know. I'll be there. So I'm sure. So I
Yeah.
think they're setting up for Bucky to come back in. I'm just saying they were giving
At
Sam
this
the
moment,
chance to have
yeah.
the spotlight.
Sam gets his moment.
Which he should have had from the beginning. I'm not saying he should. It was always the Falcon and Winter Soldier. But
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Sam who, for as much as you can, took over for Steve. So
Yeah.
we're finally putting him in the right spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the post-credit scene, we saw John Walker building his new, I guess, U.S. agent shield.
I guess.
He doesn't want to let he doesn't want to let go of being Cap, and obviously the Contessa is encouraging that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just doubling back to that scene real quick. I like that he was expressing you guys built me into this. You don't know what the pressure is like. You put me in this position. Like I don't like the idea of him passing the buck or not taking responsibility. But again, just showing how complicated things can be and how things build. I like the look behind that we're getting there.
Yeah, it was interesting the way they led into the post-credit scene, starting with the hammering sound.
Like Tony in the cave.
Yeah. But
and sort of reminiscent of Howard Stark building the original shield.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much that we saw, but I remember him with the prototypes for it and stuff. It sort of harkened back to that for me anyway.
Yeah, personally I saw it and he's sitting there assembling the shield and I'm just sitting here like, John Walker, the newest Captain America cosplayer. Or something like that.
You said the most detail oriented.
Yes.
Yes.
He
Built
did
his
put
shield.
a bit of detail into the shield. It was looking like.
And also, in this episode, Sam left his wings, which are like torn off by Walker.
Yeah, we'll get to that part in a minute. But he left.
He left his wings with what's his name? Yeah, Torres.
Who becomes the Falcon in the comics? So it's setting him up to become Falcon if Sam completely assumes the mantle of Cap or whatever he transitions into. I don't know if he's going to say Falcon with the shield. I don't know if he's going to assume Captain America or if it's going to be a whole new persona.
That was a nice scene though, seeing him walk off with the shield. And
oh my god, I just thought of what if he's just Uncle Sam?
Oh god.
I'm Uncle Sam. Hi, Uncle Sam.
But that scene where the wings got ripped off, that was when Bucky and Sam get the shield back from John.
Yeah.
And it's a scene that was teased in the trailer for episode 5 where they're in like a warehouse and they're confronting him and Walker's like, do you really want to do this? And Bucky's like, yeah. I love that in the trailer. Yeah. I was looking forward to it, but I couldn't believe it basically started the episode.
It did.
And it was a really good fight to start the episode, and there was a lot of echoes of the fight between Bucky and Cap versus Iron Man from Civil War.
Yeah.
Which of course was echoed in Walker's actions with the shield.
Definitely.
There's a lot of callbacks, not necessarily callbacks, but reflections or scenes that are meant to sort of mimic or call back to other things in the MCU. Besides those two, there's the scene where in Black Panther where T'Challa finally catches up with Claw, but Okoye and I can't remember what T'Challa's love interest name was.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't watched Black Panther in a while, but they're like King, the world watches, and he pulls back when everybody's getting ready to film, as opposed to Walker who didn't pull back, and of course that episode was called "The World Is Watching." So there's a lot of references and callbacks.
Though. I really like it. Also, but
anyway, I really like that fight to open. I liked the action sequences a lot last week, and I really like that one this week. Although I thought Walker was almost a little overpowered. Like I know Sam doesn't have any super juice in him, but he's got training obviously, and he's got good tech. And Bucky should maybe not be at the level of Cap, but he should pretty much be at the level of Walker. And he's got the vibranium arm.
Yeah.
I mean, Walker has the shield. I get it.
Yeah, I
and he's running on that rage, but rage versus righteous indignation. I don't know, but
in that scene, I knew everyone was going to be sorry.
Everybody was going to be sorry? Yeah, they kind of were at the end.
Everyone was going to be sorry.
I was trying to say that. I knew everybody was going to be relatively okay, at least of Sam and Bucky after that. But when he just, knocks Bucky back and everything, I'm just sitting like, oh.
And the part where Bucky's arm was sparking like it had not functioned, that was sort of weird.
I was thinking, did he break the arm?
I guess it was just for effect, because it didn't really come into play in the rest of the fight.
It didn't.
I thought Sam and Bucky were a pretty good team in that fight.
They were. They're a good team. They just won't acknowledge it yet.
They're the best team.
They only acknowledge it when they're actually in a fight together. But just training like that, they can't acknowledge it.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll be brothers-in-law at some point.
Maybe. Going back to, I just said in that scene when they couldn't acknowledge it, going back to the chiller moments in Louisiana, when Bucky randomly shows up on a boat out of nowhere, he actually brought something with him for Sam, so I guess he did have a purpose for going there.
He did. He brought a case from the Wakandans.
Yes.
He brought the Wakandan version of the mysterious briefcase from Pulp Fiction.
Yep. I've never even seen Pulp Fiction.
It is interesting to theorize what might be in it. I mean, it could be... I doubt it's going to be a shield. I mean, they gave Cap a shield in Infinity War, but Sam's got a shield, and Bucky knew he had it.
Exactly.
Which, again, I hate to go back in, but that fight again, Bucky picks up the shield and he throws it down at Sam, kind of like Cap did to Tony in Civil War. So lots of callbacks, especially to Civil War.
Oh, yeah. Big movie for this, I guess.
But I think it could be... I doubt it's going to be a shield. It's some kind of thing. It's probably like new Falcon gear.
Yeah, I bet it's
I'm guessing a new Cap suit.
Yeah, I'm betting.
Or something similar.
Well, I don't think they're not going to do something crazy like making the new Black Panther now that T'Challa's out of it.
That crossed my mind, but it's
because he's not
no.
Wakanda. It's not like, oh, we got a black superhero, let's just use him. I know they're not going to do that, but it could be a Black Panther style suit.
Yeah.
With the same tech.
That's what I was thinking. It could be even a new Cap inspired.
It could be but like I say, I think it could be new Falcon gear too, and maybe he'll use it for now, but then maybe he'll pass that to Torres.
Yeah.
I mean, Torres could rejigger the suit that Sam left with him.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Maybe it could even be the heart-shaped herb.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they managed to save some of it. I'm sure they're not going to just go without it for the rest of the Wakandan legacy in the MCU. So
yeah, all we know is that
doubt
it's
that
for
too,
Bucky
but
called
who
in.
knows? It's
So you
gonna
can
be
get strong
something.
without the serum.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but it's going to be something. But they left that reveal for the next episode.
Yeah. Bucky
It's
also
just-
brought charm with him.
He just opens it and he's staying, and then it's done, and it's like, oh.
That's why I referenced the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, which you get to see. But
I was on the edge of my seat. I was hoping for more, and it's like, nope, it's done. And it's like, damn you,
Wait.
Disney.
Show me more right now. I'm time traveling. Goodbye.
Sam was Jules from Pulp Fiction looking in the case. Although does Jules ever even look at it? He opens it.
So as I stated, I've never seen Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It's usually Vincent looking in it, but regardless. So I didn't think it was a bad episode. I thought last week's is still my favorite so far. This week's was a little uneven, but it definitely set up an interesting finale next week. I am not sure what to expect out of next week. I haven't really been sure what to expect out of the series overall. I know one thing I didn't expect with the series, even watching all the previews, was for it to be a meditation on white supremacy and privilege. But I don't have a problem with that. And in fact, I think one good thing about that is it sort of gives purpose to us, beginning with Sam giving up the shield only to get it back, which we saw he did this week. I was all prepared to feel like, well, we're just right back where we started at the end of Endgame now. The series was kind of pointless, just like I felt at the end of WandaVision, where with whatever they accomplished narratively, I felt like could have been done in an end credit scene or 5 minutes of a 2-hour movie. But at least in this case, him giving up the shield just to get it back was sort of done in service to a larger story, and to a bigger issue. So there's a little less of that feeling like, well, this was pointless and we're just right back where we started.
Yeah.
I do think they could have told that same story that they're telling with Sam keeping the shield the whole time. I mean, just because he had the shield, just because Steve anointed him as successor, doesn't mean the government wouldn't have had their own new Captain America. We still could have had John Walker with or without the shield.
Yeah.
And as far as that goes, he could have had a shield. It didn't have to be made out of vibranium. I mean, obviously the shield he's got now is not going to be. And they could have taken the opportunity to introduce like proto-adamantium, which is what the shield is made out of in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or if it was made out of vibranium and that vibranium was unscrupulously obtained from Wakanda, it would have played in the story even better. So I don't think Sam had to give up the shield to tell the story they're telling, but I understand why, and it does work in service to that. So I don't feel like, well, we got some entertaining episodes out of it and it was a fun time killer for a few weeks, but at the end, we're not really any further along than we were.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I guess I am looking forward to next week's episode, though. I can say that much. And hopefully a season 2 or maybe a full-length movie. I know it's not on the schedule yet, but
it could be.
They're going to keep making these movies to the end of time, probably. So.
Probably.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll just be appearances in some of the other movies. I mean, I assume at some point we're going to get more team-up movies like the Avengers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I couldn't imagine they wouldn't do that.
Well, we'll see where it goes. For now, eyes on next week. Alright, so the season is in the books. Let's take a look at it in the bigger picture and also this episode in particular.
It was amazing.
Now, this one kicked off, I thought, too fast.
A little bit,
the same sort of incident we had in the second episode where all of a sudden, after being separated, Sam and Bucky are just together like that. And here we are in, presumably, New York City, where the Flag Smashers are interrupting the GRC, and then Sam and Bucky are already right there on the scene. Just
pretty much,
no preamble, no build up for Sam's suit. Clearly he's got one. You see him flying in. You don't see a good look at it, but clearly he's got a new suit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, here we go again. Here's this sort of haphazard slapdash pacing to the series that doesn't quite work. And then it hit me. This isn't a 6-episode series. This is a 6-hour movie.
It really is.
If you look at it like that, the pacing makes a lot more sense. You know, you didn't have that build up and that sort of setback and build to this and then reveal like you would have if it were simply 6 episodes of a series. I think, you know, aside from a few things here or there, which, concessions that had to be made because it is being presented episodically, I think for the most part, if you just cut the credits out and put it together and watched it as one 6-hour block, it would feel much more coherent than it did watching it as an individual series or individual episodes of a series.
Yeah, I agree with that it being more like a 6-hour movie than the series, but also we got that, and it is kind of rushed. I saw it like that, but at the same time, I kind of expected it. I don't know. I didn't expect
After
much
what
of a
we've seen,
build-up.
I guess that does make a degree of sense. I did expect more, like I said, because I was looking at it as an episodic series. But
Yeah.
then after seeing that and thinking about it and processing from it, I'm like, no, this is just a really long movie.
It really
and
is.
it plays out like a movie would, with the same sort of, the build-up was him opening the case. So the next thing you would see is him coming out in a movie. That's what you'd see. You'd see him open the case, and the next thing you'd see would be the faraway shot where you get, the notion of it, and then you get the close-up, which we got. And by the way, I love that moment when he broke into the building. Someone's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Captain America." And Sam fully owning it and taking on all the weight and the responsibility of the position. Just no preamble to it. Just, "I'm Captain America." That's, this is the last episode, for now at least, and that's where he needed to be, and I was super happy to see that. I thought that was a great moment.
Same.
But going back to the movie versus episodic series concept, again, in a series, you'd have that moment at the end of the episode where, oh, there's something in the case, and then it'd take a while to build back up to it before you actually got the full reveal. But again, I don't think this was ever meant to be like a series. Maybe it was, and maybe some of it is just in the fact they had to do some re-editing because they may have dropped a plot line here, and shooting schedules were interrupted because of the pandemic and whatnot. But it seems more like it was intended to always be presented more like a 6-hour movie than a 6-episode series, whereas like WandaVision felt more like it was supposed to be a series. It was a series of episodes.
Yeah, I agree that
Not
it
that
feels like...
Not that it wasn't telling a large story. You can have a story running through an episodic series. I'm just saying this felt like it was presented just like a long movie, whereas that was presented more like a television series. And again, I'm sure this was always... I assume this was always intended to be a series.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that ever changed. I'm just saying it was a different sort of presentation. And while I criticize it through most of the reviews, again, being able to see the big picture and finally realizing, oh, it's just a long movie, I think it worked really well.
Same.
And looking at it through that lens raises it up a little in my books.
So if they planned for it to feel more like a series and ended up having to scrap that idea, go with the movie thing due to COVID or something, they did that really well.
Yeah, which is, again, why I don't necessarily... I think it was kind of always the design that the creators had in mind, but...
I think so, too.
I don't want to speak for them, of course, but...
Of course.
Regardless of why it ended up that way, in the end, it did work out really well.
It looks great, in my opinion. So after that...
What? You're great.
I get too excited and I forget what I'm supposed to say.
Let's point two things out. One, we were wrong in assuming we were going to get an announcement for a second season.
Yeah.
It hasn't been announced there's not going to be one, but I really assumed that maybe at the end of this we were going to get the reveal of season 2, sort of like we got the Book of Boba Fett reveal at the end of Mandalorian season 2. I thought for sure we were going to get Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2, or Captain America and Winter Soldier season 2, or Captain America and the White Wolf. But that still could be yet to come. The hopes for that haven't been dashed, and there's still enough meat left on the bone that they can go forward with the series.
Yeah, we didn't get that, but repeatedly,
season 2, I'm sorry.
Repeatedly they did put Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and I'm just sitting here like, that's great, Disney, but that's a movie you gave us 7 years ago.
It is weird that they switched Sam to Captain America, but they didn't turn the dial on Bucky to be the White Wolf.
Yeah,
especially since he was referred to that a couple times in the series.
Yeah,
he made the reference
it seems like
to
he's
Sam,
trying
and
to
then
look
Io said that to him
from the Winter Soldier title.
Exactly. But then again, that could still be what season 2 is called.
Yeah, could be the next series, or who knows exactly what yet.
But while we weren't necessarily right about that, one thing we, and especially me, or I, was dead on about, Sharon Carter was revealed to be the power broker.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel as though, I know a lot of people are denying it, but I also feel like it was kind of obvious.
She didn't have an iPhone.
Revealed to the audience in one dead French villain.
Yeah.
But to most people, they still don't know she's the power broker. And now she's got her place back within the government, and she's going to be sort of like Hydra was after Captain America and the Winter Soldier, working from within. I don't know that her plan is necessarily to dismantle the government, but she's out to build an empire. Like Carly accused her of wanting to build an empire and build her power.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think she has any other sort of agenda, but I was pretty sure she was the power broker since the second episode, in all honesty. I know people want to say, well, they use male pronouns for the power broker, and the power broker was somebody who apparently was around before Sharon Carter would have gone rogue, but
It's been a while.
It could all be all that could be misdirection.
Yeah.
But both on the writer's parts and the power broker's part herself.
Yeah.
And the power broker could be like the Dread Pirate Roberts from The Princess Bride, where they existed beforehand and she just assumed the mantle.
Yeah.
So, and for all we know, she could have been bad going back further.
Yeah.
So,
And we don't know a whole lot about her.
I did think for a minute when she first showed up, when she was on the scene to be the backup that Sam had called in.
Yeah.
For a minute I thought, oh, maybe they are going a different direction. Maybe she's not going to be the power broker. But
I still didn't trust
then once
her.
she confronted Carl, I'm like, no, she's power broker. And then
Yeah.
she flat out said it.
Yeah. But, yeah, she seemed a little suspicious, when the stuff was going off.
Yeah.
I'm saying in this episode when the stuff was going off and they're like, well, we're going, She seemed kind of sus. I'm like, I don't trust her.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like I say, they've left meat on the bone to go forward, and we got just some more little bits of Val, who we found out is Madam Hydra, amongst other things in the comics.
Yeah.
And John Walker now assuming the U.S. agent role.
Yep.
Almost officially, he's got the black suit, and she referred to him as a U.S. agent.
Yeah.
But we still don't know for whom she's working or where that's going to lead. And there's nothing on the schedule going forward for any of these characters. So it still seems like a season 2 may be in the works.
Yeah.
And they could appear, of course, in other people's movies. We see a lot of crossover with the characters, and they could have something going on down the road.
It's all on the background.
I was going to say the Madam Hydra, Black Widow, maybe we'll see her get involved with Secret Invasion.
I was surprised that it looks like Carly's out of the picture.
It does.
I mean,
she seems kind of dead.
She got shot by Sharon, and Sam did carry her out and put her on the gurney so the EMS or ENTs, the ear, nose, and throat doctors could take care of her.
The emergency doctor
but he referenced her as dying for her cause.
Yeah.
Which it could just be, melodramatic on his point, or it could be misdirection. It could just be him being mistaken.
Could be Tahiti again.
So she may come back, but it's kind of a shame for Luther. She was a really good character.
She was.
And it was interesting to see her, she was sort of becoming what Zemo accused her of being radicalized for her cause, She obviously had good intentions and was fighting for something she thought was right, but she was letting herself be consumed by it. And it's an interesting thing to do with the character, something you've seen played out in movies and in real life.
Yeah.
And I thought she could be a very interesting character going forward, but we may or may not get that opportunity.
I guess we'll have to see.
For the most part, the Flag Smashers all got wiped out.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I assume there's got to be more.
Zemo got his revenge. I didn't see that coming at the end, where Zemo's manservant blew up the truck.
Yeah.
Especially right after the guard was like, one world, one people was like, oh, okay. So they're going to the raft where Zemo is, and they've got a person on the inside. Oh, the Flag Smashers are going to... Nope.
Yep. the Zemo's dude just blew it all up.
There does still seem to be one out there, though, because the one that got dumped out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And Sam went to go help apprehend. I don't think he was in that group. So there's still at least one Flag Smasher out there.
Yeah.
And I assume since they brought attention to it, they'll come back in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, definitely. I feel as though it would be kind of stupid for them not to.
I like that moment a lot, too, where Sam coordinated with the senator, or whatever she was. Seems like a former military officer.
With the helicopter.
In the helicopter, and he's like, we're going to do this on the count of 5, and when we count down, you're going to take the controls, and he zoomed in there and took the guy out, and she took the controls. That was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
I mean, just the action movie element of it, I really liked that. The action was top-notch in this episode again.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't feel small scale. It felt like a movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, just part 6 of a 6-hour movie.
It really was. But there was a moment we saw John Walker fighting Carly.
I liked that a lot.
I liked it.
I didn't see it coming. B, it makes total sense no matter whether they're going to play John Walker as the hero or villain. And I think he's still going to end up being more villain than hero.
Yeah.
But he's got it makes perfect sense. Of course he's got a grudge with Carly. She killed Black Star, Battlestar.
Yeah. And but during that scene, I was sitting there like, somebody's gonna die. One of these people are not walking out of this episode.
But again, I did not see that coming, and I liked seeing him come in there. And then, since we're bringing that up, let's bring up almost the redemption of John Walker, where he has a chance to go after Carly, but he tries to save the van full of senators.
He tosses down his shield and grabs.
That was a really dope moment, and I know some people are going to argue, oh, well, they're letting America off the hook, and the metaphorical ideas of because people have talked about how. Steve is Cap, and maybe even Falcon is Cap is what America wants to be, and John Walker's what America really is, and maybe this is sort of letting America off the hook a bit, but I think it's just adding more to his character.
Exactly. It feels like more layers.
He really does have a moral compass, and he wants to do what he thinks is right, but he's just going to end up corrupted in the end.
Yeah.
Which I think when he does those evil things and he becomes more the villain, it's going to have more impact because of the good person that was in there.
Exactly.
as Carly was sort of the same way. Again, somebody who was a good person but was being corrupted by she going too far or letting herself be led astray, which is kind of what they try to do with Thanos in the movies too. But I still think that was a mistake. It is like, I just want to make things balanced to give people a chance to live by killing half the population.
They learned the mistake with Thanos.
He had the wrong methods from the start. He was never trying to help people. He was just doing what he thought was best.
Yeah.
So, which is why I think they should have kept him more like he is in the comics, where he's just a genocidal maniac who wants to appease death.
Yeah.
Because that's basically still what he is. I'm just going to wipe out everybody because that's what's best. Like Greg said in the room/in-game parody, you couldn't just grow some soybeans or something, infinite power, and you're still just going to wipe everybody out. And I mean, he was slaughtering populations before that. I mean, I think there are better ways, and it never felt like he was coming from a place of, I just want to do what's right, and sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Like, I just want to do this because this is what I choose to do.
Yeah.
So, I still think he's a good villain. I just think it's a little more muddied with him. And with these characters, you can have where they have a good side, and it just gives that much more impact to when the bad side wins out.
Definitely.
But again, John Walker still seemed pretty much like a good guy at the end of this, which is why, again, since they took the time to put him in the suit and say he's, you're a U.S. agent now, there's got to be more coming for these characters somewhere. There's
no way they just
too much left.
It.
And I mean, of course, Sam is officially, he didn't necessarily get the government sanction, but he officially assumed the mantle of Captain America, so there's that. We could get another series of Cap movies.
Yeah. He repeatedly said it in the show. And I wanted to say real quick with John Walker and Bucky, I kind of liked seeing Bucky not trying to kill John Walker every 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's sort of like the Zemo character. Like, I'm okay with what we got. I thought it was nice for what it was. It's not the direction I would have gone with it. And I think there's maybe a better direction to go with it. But it was enjoyable. It was fine for what it is. It's nice to see characters be multidimensional and people adapt to situations. We'll see how it plays out in the end, but for now, there's an interesting moment here.
I liked that, but going back to Falcon, Sam becoming Captain America, later in the episode, we see him go see Isaiah Bradley, and there's a moment when they're talking, and Isaiah makes a comment saying, "So, Black Captain America," and I like that Sam was just like, "Damn right." I really like that moment.
Yeah, all the stuff with Isaiah was really good, and I like that we got the moment that Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin sort of foreshadowed on Fat Man Beyond, where Sam took Isaiah and his grandson to the Smithsonian. They have an Isaiah Bradley exhibit there now with the Cap exhibit.
Yeah.
Which is, perfect bookend, because we started out there in the beginning, now we're here at the end. It made a lot of sense, but it almost made so much sense that you didn't think there was a chance they were really going to do it. So I was really happy to see that they did do it.
Of course they did it.
That was a very nice bookend. And of course, I still hope we're going to get the Isaiah Bradley story at some point.
Oh, I agree.
There's so much material there.
I saw a theory going around that Howard Stark may have been involved with the Isaiah Bradley stuff.
I don't know. I don't think he had too much to do with the super soldier serum, though. He was more
That's why Bucky, Winter Soldier killed him, though. He was delivering it or something, I think.
Okay, but that was an older story.
Like I said, it's a thing.
I don't think the story was that he worked on it, but
we'll have
I guess
to wait and see.
We'll either find out or we won't.
Exactly.
So what do we think of Sam's speech to the senators and the world at large at the end?
I enjoyed it.
I thought it was pretty right on. Maybe just on this side of too melodramatic, maybe, but
I think it
still represents the ideals we're all pulling for.
I say it kind of buttered the whole, I don't want to necessarily say cliche kind of speech, something like that though. Kind of buttered it, but overall I thought it was really good, really nice.
I thought it worked for the most part.
Exactly. And it seemed pretty fitting as well for, the show and everything. I'm sure
different people are going to have different opinions on it, but overall, especially for, a comic book movie.
Yeah.
/ comic book series, but I maintain this was just a long movie.
It was. Disney was like, we've got too many movies, we'll give you a series.
I think overall it did its job, and it encapsulates how Sam feels and why he would think that he should take on the role of Captain America, even considering the way, black people have been treated by this country, and even in the, in the service of the Captain America program, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And overall, I think the series did a nice job dealing with, these sort of, timely in that they're on sort of the forefront of people's minds and they're in the media, everything, but obviously there are issues that have been going on since the beginning of this country.
Yeah.
And even beforehand, so you don't necessarily expect that from just a comic book movie. And I think they did a pretty good job presenting that and just the bigger, more splashy superhero action
agree.
movie stuff. And again, I know different people have different opinions on that, and this is just ours.
Yeah.
For the most part, I really like what they gave us. I'm interested to see where they go next.
I'm very excited to see where they go next.
Yes.
I also like the little wrap up at the end where Sam was back in his hometown and Bucky came to hang out.
Bucky got invited to the cookout.
I was really glad to see them together there.
I've
I was
been
happy to
seeing
see
that
them
on
back together,
TikTok.
'cause I was afraid they were going to go their separate ways, and I'm really looking forward to them, staying a team.
But I've seen a lot of creators like, oh yeah, we can accept him. He's invited. He's good at the cookout. And then seeing that, I'm like, Bucky's at the cookout.
It's at the cookout.
And I was just really excited to see him, with Sam's family get along and being happy.
Family and friends. I mean,
Well, yeah,
it's just-
friends. I mean,
I like the scene where the kids were climbing on Bucky's arm, just holding it out, and like he doesn't even notice.
No.
It didn't get too much more of Bucky and Sam's sister, but maybe that'll come.
Yeah. I was sitting there like,
Still
are they
waiting.
going to show them kissing at some point?
Still waiting for the winter brother-in-law.
Okay.
So
I would've said
That's
the white-
season
I would've- I
3.
would have said the white brother-in-law, but that seemed a little too on
I can't wait till
that's season 3.
next series, the Bucky series where he has to choose between Sam's sister and that one girl from episode 1.
Oh, I don't.
I wanna see
I don't
him
think. I don't think he'll end up with.
I
her
want to see
again,
him
especially
choose between
especially
the
after-
Olsens.
Especially after he went and made amends to the gentleman whose son he killed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a lot
Me
of buddy-buddying
neither.
between them anymore.
Me neither. But no, that's the whole fanship TikTok side thing that I'm for. But everybody's just sitting here like, Sam and Sarah are Bucky's bi panic.
Okay.
Yeah.
By Panic at the Disco.
Yo.
Buy Panic at the Disco for $5.99.
Only $5.99? Shit.
Buy Panic at the Disco low, sell high. Alright, so any other takeaways from just this episode or even the series at large?
It was good.
It was so good.
It was good. It ended really well. It started slowly, but it ended really well.
They both started slowly and very quickly.
Bucky's almost.
But like I say, I think if you look at it, I'm
As a
tempted.
movie,
I'm tempted
yeah.
to sit there and make that cut. To
Oh,
just
please
cut,
do.
Cut out the credits and just put together the 6-hour-long cut.
I will watch the 6-hour-long cut.
So, should we give ratings for? I think the whole
Do we have
series.
a title for this episode yet?
We don't title these episodes.
I
it's
meant
just
episode
reviews.
6 of the show.
Oh,
Because on Disney Plus, it's just called episode 6, and the description is
I
just out of the show.
I assume maybe it's Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Probably.
We saw that twice at the end.
True.
But anyway,
So I'd rate it like a 9.5. Maybe a 9. Around there.
Minimum 9.5.
I'd give it.
9.5.
I'd give it a clock that just says now out of 10.
Yes.
Because like a clock that just says now, it's both timely and timeless.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, thanks for checking out our review of not only episode 6 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but the series at large. Make sure you drop in on Sundays at lexiconpodcast.wordpress.com for full-length episodes of the podcast. And check us out here at YouTube, where we're uploading episodes of the podcast, and we'll probably do some more special events like this if you all liked it. What you got?
I just remembered that I wanted to make a comment saying that I'm curious to see if maybe we could get some of this Sam Captain America in the Loki series by any chance. Because I know in the comics there's some.
I mean, but I wouldn't see it being. I wouldn't see it being too long form.
No, I think it would just be
Logan's
brief.
gonna be
'cause-
jumping around.
Exactly.
It'd be like a cameo. I think.
But I was
if
gonna say,
anything.
could he jump into this time section?
Yeah, we got Loki to look forward to. Not May, but June. I think we may well do a run on that series like we did here.
Better.
So I thought that this was a good thing
I
to
can't
do.
wait.
We were in a little late on WandaVision to do it, but I think we'll probably jump in with Loki and do that, and maybe even What If coming after that.
Oh yeah.
It's a big year for Marvel stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it all. We're gonna check in on as much of it as we can. So make sure you come back then when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon Concluded.
Bye.
Bye.